I'm Carly Marley.
And I'm John H. Berfelo. I had to throw the H in there today. Something new.
And Jeremiah Vandermeer is going to be in studio today. He just isn't here yet, so I'm just
you know
keeping
what?
his seat warm
Traffic.
for him. It's brutal today. So.
I know. I left like 3.5 hours early. You never know. I might get pulled over along the way, so I got to take these chances these days. Just saying. As everybody knows, the little pullover that happened a few weeks ago, me and Jared talked about it, and you know what? Yeah, lots going on in Canada and arrests and raids and a lot of stuff going on in Canada, and we're really now second guessing what's going on with legalization and the direction of what the government's doing right now. And at the same time, we're hearing more in medias about the direction of the legalization and the kind of platform they're looking upon right now. I mean, what's your thoughts?
I'm really getting nervous at this point in the game with them having taken, originally we heard that they were going to be letting us know about legalization this spring. And now this spring they're saying, well, we'll probably have some sort of proposal by next spring. And if it's taken 2 years to even see a proposal with God knows how many more delays possibly coming in, I have a feeling that Trudeau is going to be running his next campaign on the legalization platform as well, and I think that's really shitty because we already voted for him to legalize, so he should be legalizing.
There's some things that I've actually been talking with quite a few people, and we kind of, with just basically what's going on in industry. So when we look at the population of Canada, there's over 36 million people plus. So when you legalize a drug that is being prohibited for so long and it has so many bad things behind it, when you legalize it, think of cannabis culture. People lined up around the corner hours before. The lineups were all day.
Yeah.
So now think about supplying 35 million people in Canada. How do you do that?
Yeah.
We don't even have the facilities going with the 35 licensed producers in Canada alone can't even supply 1/10 of that market.
Well, and the thing is too, the stuff they're supplying isn't even good quality. So
well, it's not
even just about the amount of people we're supplying it to. The people who are being given this supply should be given clean,
but they
good
should just allow
from
everybody
supplier.
to grow. With legalization, we have to see a mandatory thing where everybody in the country can grow.
I absolutely agree. I think
that's
the
only way we're
going
to get supply is where everybody's able to grow their own.
Yeah.
And that's the way I look at it. So, I mean, when we talk about legalization, they're talking about, like everybody able to grow their own. I mean, that's the way I look at legalization. I don't look at it being able to buy it or where I can get it from. I look at it as being a place where everybody can grow home and make their own beer, can make their own wine. So why can't we grow our own cannabis? With legalization, that's the exact first thing I want to see in the platform is we can all grow our own. That's the only way the system's going to start working out. I mean, until such time, I mean, Jared's here right now. We'll talk more about what's happened with me in the last couple of weeks and what's going on. I mean, come on, guys. I mean, we look at the market and the way things are going right now, and and we're gonna squeeze Jared right in here.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Are you gonna come on my side? I can get him on my side. I'm gonna put him in a hot seat. Hot seat. Right. I mean, I don't know
what pouch for you already.
What can we do, Johnny?
I do.
It's really, really easy.
We gotta get you a microphone too.
Okay, guys. Well, LPs sell low potency herbs and high prices, plus they tax it. Well, with the legal market, we're going to see tax, guys. You're going to see some type of tax.
Oh my gosh,
GST or PST. Sure. They tax alcohol. They tax cigarettes. They tax sugar. Neil will go to bat with that. So, I mean, at some point or another, when the legalized market comes around, they're going to tax that, too.
Which, I mean, I think everyone's kind of...
Hey, Jared, if you could pay taxes, would you pay your taxes and still continue what you're doing?
I do pay my taxes.
See? We pay taxes.
So it's not like our taxes.
Everybody pays their certain things. So I mean, with I don't know, with the tax kind of thing, what's happening with that? Cannabis was zero rated. I think that court case came in a couple years ago, and it was in mid-November, and it was a British Columbia Compassion Club Society challenge that the government went across, and from what I understand, that cannabis was zero rated at that point, and it's now taxable by goods and services, GST, and that's where the legalized market came in with licensed producers, because 100% they're paying tax on every gram that is sold. I don't know if we see at the end of supply the consumer that the patient is buying it. Does it say on there that they're being taxed? But there's definitely a goods and services tax attached to every gram every minuscule of marijuana sold throughout, or I should say, you know what? I say cannabis. I say marijuana because that's what I've been reading through all the government documentation the last couple of days. It's like I'm being brainwashed with a word that doesn't really exist. Cannabis is cannabis, and that's what it is. It's a herb.
I missed the beginning of the show because I was out.
Well, we were just saying,
For you
happy. We're waiting in.
I know.
We just basically took some bongs.
You haven't told him anything, Johnny, about the
didn't.
process and everything? Okay.
I haven't really got into anything. I got this nice little folder here. And
But you told him you got arrested. Everybody knows what happened.
No, I told him. I told him about the original arrest that was live on Facebook with the officer that searched my car. We talked about that.
We talked about it over the phone.
Okay, we did
I don't
the
think
phone
you've been
thing.
back in person yet, have
Well,
you?
it's been the last 3 weeks. I've been arrested twice, released once, and charged and released with possession of a controlled substance under the CDSA Section 4. And well, here I even got my little piece of paper. We can start it out with this.
This was when you were going to Hempfest in Alberta.
Yeah, Hempfest, Alberta. I'm charged, and on the back here, Jared, what does it say here? When's my court date?
April 21st,
April
2017.
up at 20th.
Oh, 20th.
You didn't even read it.
No, I didn't.
He was just assuming it was the same
I thought
time
it was
as Mark
21st.
and Jody.
No,
but
I knew it was the 20th, actually. Because are
I
you
gotta
going
go
to
court
420 or
on
not?
April 20th.
Are you going to go to 420 then? Or what's your story?
Well,
then?
you know what? Here's the whole thing, guys. And let's just talk about what exactly happened when this all kind of occurred. I went to the Calgary Hempfest. Great event. Had a lot of fun. No, good people. Oh, yeah.
Let's see.
Of course, the Toker Poker. Like, you got a cannabis culture one over there, what we're doing.
Hempfest.
So, went to the
Cannabis
Calgary
Expo.
Hemp Fest, and this is had a great event. Really good time. You know what? Basically, what I always do, have a good time. Of
course.
Say some friends.
Do your Johnny B thing.
Do my thing. Do the thing I love so much was talk about how cannabis saved my life. Talk about it, and with the patients, the people coming up to me and going, thank you for helping me grow, and thank you for the education. You know what? I love how the plant has completely changed me, and people have seen it over the years, and it's good to see those people come up and say thank you. And at the same time, thank you guys for helping me so much, because the thanks I get from you help me to say thanks. You know what I mean? But
Thank you for
the event
thanking
went
me
over
for
very
thanking
well.
you.
It was quite a fantastic event. Sasha really held it down. We had a really good platform there. It was a packed house. Everybody's quite pleased. And next day went to the West Edmonton Mall and hung out with my lady and did my thing and got all ready and went to the airport, and I made sure that there was nothing in the bags because we had our carry-ons, and I had my carry-on with me, and I checked all the bags and things are going well. We went upstairs and grabbed some calamari, and next thing you know, my name's being called across the PA. I'm like, So I walk over to the officer, and he actually has the exact med trainer like this.
But where did they get you? They got you at the event?
At the airport.
Oh,
Now I'm
this was
going
at
to
the
talk more
airport.
about this after this
Yeah.
because I've learned more since then. So he's like,
They called
got
you
this
over the
little-
loudspeaker at the
he's
airport
got
to
this
get
little-
you.
He's got this little med trainer and his little thing like this. He goes, we found large amounts of marijuana in your check-in. And girlfriend looks at me, she goes, I'm like, well, where'd that come from? Like,
What
large
large
amounts of marijuana.
How much is
And
large?
then he went on to him, like, really? I said, there was nothing in there. I says, he goes, yeah, it looks like, I saw the container. I said, I have my med tanners and stuff like that. He goes, well, we're going to have to search your person. Do you have any marijuana on you? I said, of course, in my carry on. I opened up my wallet, handed him my ID, and I handed him my MMR card. He goes, what's this? So, well, that's my license to be able to possess cannabis for my legal medication.
Mm-hmm.
He looks at it and goes, it's expired. I said, well, yeah, I'm protected under the MMAR. So they have a 24-hour hotline. From there, it kind of started going. It seemed like it was really okay. He goes, you have any more on it? I said, oh, yeah, I have these little creams and I have these little tincture drops. They even took my hemp seeds that Dana had given me.
Oh, my
package. They actually
Lord.
took the seeds out.
But you
they
didn't actually have anything in your check-in
Hell
bag?
no. Why
So
would
what
I-
were they talking about?
Well, they
bullshitting?
removed a dangerous good out of my bag.
What was the dangerous good? A med
Apparently a
tainer?
med tainer. You saw the picture. They took one med tainer out of my bag. One med tainer went out of my bag. It said
That's-
removed of a dangerous good. Now,
Seems very strange.
and they said large amounts of marijuana. So what was in my bag? Okay, so they searched my bag because I had Toker Pokers. I had Bovida, large amounts of Bovida, the 320 gram pouches. So they were checking
your
the
bag.
gel. They wanted to know what the
These are
gel
your-
was.
This is stuff for the expo.
This is stuff for the expo. They didn't just check my one luggage, the one that was my for all the events. They also checked my personal. And how they searched it, they didn't even look on the one side. They didn't even move Dana Larson's books that were in there because he gave me some Harry Potter books and stuff that he signed.
Yeah.
They're on one side of my luggage. You can see that was never even moved. They moved one part. They opened up a box, took out one med tainer. My personal bag, you can see they opened up one of the Toker Poker boxes and they put a little wrap around it, being inspected, nothing removed from one bag. An item dangerous good removed from the other bag. And the dangerous good in question was a med tainer. So and then they proceeded. I was being charged.
ridiculous.
I got charged. He goes, do we have to handcuff you? I'm like, no. And I put my hands behind back, and he goes, oh, he kind of said something about medical. He said, well, they removed my C4, C5 vertebrae, had a cervical alectomy fusion. At this point, now the cop's looking at me going, uh-oh, this guy's like, they didn't Google me or anything like that. They just, figured something out. He's like, okay, so this guy is full medical. He's, look, I'm showing you my arm. I'm talking about it. And at this point, the one sergeant, he's just like, you know what? Well, I know we're taking him down to the station. I'm like, what? Yeah, you're under arrest for possession of marijuana. Your card is expired. And I said, well, you can call Health Canada. He goes, we'll go down. So I proceeded to grab my bag to carry it. And you know what? Him seeing how much pain I was in, like I look great, but I can't do certain things. He actually grabbed me a cart.
You
about
look fantastic,
30, 40.
Johnny.
I walked about from here across the street type deal, and it's a long airport. I've only blocked like 1/10 of it. The cop looked at me and grabbed one of the buggies and he goes, here you go.
Aw.
Like, and one
And
wasn't
you
bad.
hopped in the buggy?
No, and one
And he
wasn't
pushed
bad.
you?
The other one was pretty good. So they took me down into the police station, and they went through all my stuff. They took the bowl off of my pipe, and they kept it. The one with the little frog from Lethal Glass. So they took one of my bowls.
Why did they do that? They wanted to keep it as a souvenir.
Because it had resin on it.
Oh,
but they left the pipe. They left my Jesse pipe behind. So that
Sergeant's daughter has a new necklace.
it didn't make any sense to me. And then I said to call Health Canada. He goes, well, do you want to catch the plane and go home, or do you want to wait for me to be on hold with Health Canada? Basically, is what he said. And I'm like, well, I want to go home.
Yeah.
So I was charged.
What? That's just insane.
Which you've seen the piece of paper. We got it right here.
Did they take your lighters too?
I'm charged under the Controlled and Drug Substance Acts, and I was charged with Section 4-1 of the CDSA, possession of under 30 grams. That happened on the 3rd to the 13th. That happened at the Edmonton airport.
How dare you let your card expire?
So here's the next step. So you know what? I had to find out more of what's going on. And so, I mean, there's certain steps that we need to take. So I was at fault with certain things. A, for one, I was not carrying a copy of this piece of paper. Mm-hmm. Apparently, we got to carry this around with us. Very important. It's a copy.
You have to carry around
and on this, you guys, is an expiry
portfolio.
date. And that expiry date, I don't know if you can see it right there, it says March 31st, 2014.
Yeah.
So that's an important piece of paper. But at the same time, a lot of the officers don't know about the MMAR, Coalition Against Repeal. So I really wanted to find out exactly what we can do, and this has happened. So
Everybody has that paper?
So what?
The one that you showed? So
No.
No. Who has? So the one that you just showed up to people.
This one here is my charge.
No, this one.
This
underneath.
one here, if you're MMAR, you're going to have a copy of this pink piece of paper. And if you don't...
That's just MMARs?
Just MMAR.
Or MMPRs,
no?
No,
AMCPR is something different.
Okay.
Now, one thing Health Canada said to me straight out, they're not to comment or talk anything about the MMAR. To them, it doesn't exist.
What?
Just, they're not... It's the program is dead. But under...
What the fuck?
Under the Aller case, we're protected. So I had a talk with Cheryl, and she represents BC, and she recognized my voice, and I talked to her, and hey, how you doing? So she kind of gave me some steps on what to talk to you guys about, and I said I needed to educate people on this, so she kind of wanted to tell me. Mm-hmm. So, there's certain things that we need to do as MMAR patients, in Canada, and as legal people that are, legal patients. I don't say people because we're people. We're not patients. But I mean, if we're legally allowed to carry and possess cannabis and grow your own under the old MMAR, there's certain things that you guys are going to need to know. Because even myself, knowing the system, gone to court, I went and had a meeting with Jason Wilcox. He didn't even know about the purple page. He's like, purple page? What purple page? Well, we're going to talk more about this purple page. So
purple page?
I actually, I printed this out, and it's on my Facebook page. It's been shared about 88 times at least, so you can definitely go to my Facebook page, John H. Berfelo. I'm open, so anybody can read. You can follow me. You can't add as a friend because I'm full.
Let's just quickly break it down for people who don't really understand.
Okay,
so that there's people that there's MMAR, which
and
was
there's
the original.
AMCPR.
Well, there was MMPR, though. That's the middle one. So that was the...
MMPR
is the same as MMAR?
Is different because the MMPR had to deal with the licensed producers.
Right,
and
but
the AMCPR is for...
In that time period, nobody could get any kind of license for anything then.
After March of 2014, 31st, there was no license to obtain through anything.
So
that never
in
really
the MMPR
existed.
period, there was no people who got
No one can
license.
apply at this point. It was in repeal. So it was in court. So once
there are
that
no
decisions were
MMPRs.
made on February 26th of 2016, the same date that I got pulled over and arrested when I talked to you about it on the show there last week.
Yeah.
So I got pulled over. Make sure it's not 420 yet. 416. Very important. So I got pulled over on my way going to the mom's cop.
Yeah.
And first I was told that I had ran a red light. And I'm like, I knew you were behind me. There's no way I ran a red light. I'm telling my girlfriend beside me, as the cops all over, I said, I'm getting pulled over again. Just like my father. When I was with my dad 4 months prior, I got pulled over. I live Facebooked that one too. Same thing. I got pulled over and said that I was going too fast in the slow lane. Too slow in the fast lane.
What?
And then when they open it, it smells like marijuana. So this is the best part, guys. So they pulled me over. The first thing comes to the passenger. He goes, it smells like marijuana. I'm driving a brand new 2017 Subaru Impreza. It's 3 weeks old. It does not smell like weed. There's no weed in my car. Actually, there's one med tanner. We know they're airtight.
Yeah.
So I'm like, that's funny. I said the only stuff I have is in my med tanner.
In an airtight container.
I handed it to him. He over that facility goes, whoa. Clicks it, hands it back to me, and says, you're under arrest for possession of marijuana. And I'm like, I laughed. I said, we want to continue to grow on. Like, here's my card. And he goes, do you have a card? At this point, I didn't have my card or anything on me.
Yeah.
I didn't think I had it. I'm like, no, I'm like protected. I was in the Global Mail. You can Google my name and everything. Like, I'm sure you already did that because he was all over the road calling me, right?
Yeah.
So I went through the whole procedures. They arrested me, put it in the back of the car. I asked at this point, and then I find my MMR license in my wallet because I forgot I had the one on me, so I handed it to him. He did the proper thing. He called Health Canada to verify who I was. But at the same time, he put me in the back of the police truck with the dog.
This was in Vancouver or outside of Vancouver?
In Abbotsford jurisdiction.
Abbotsford.
The same day that Bill Blair was talking at the center in Abbotsford. So I believe that after the talk, I was followed. Just because I wasn't followed, just he happened to be pull up beside me and run my plate number. So here's the question: as a licensed cannabis user, is my name on a system stating that I use cannabis? Because twice I've had officers got behind me. Twice their job is to Google your license plate. That's what they do. When a cop pulls up behind you, he's Googling your license plate.
Googling your license
Not Googling. They're putting their license plate in their computer.
Okay.
That's just the train. That's what they do.
Right.
Right. And then my name
They don't
comes
have a
up, and then they're
machine
like, "Oh,
that
how?"
scans it yet.
Yeah. So I mean, is it flags or a red light flashing? John uses cannabis or something, or what's going on here? Right? Because it happened to me twice.
Johnny B. Bad.
So I got pulled over. The cop then verified who I was. He said he wasn't going to give me a ticket. Then when he found out he was live on Facebook and 850 people had shared it, and it had about 20,000 views at that point, he gave me a ticket for running a red light. Well, I'm contesting that ticket, of course. I've already sent that off to Victoria. Like, I'm contesting this here, my charge. Of course, I'm not. I was charged, but at the same time, all these things. So I wasn't charged with the first one. I was released. My accountant's given back to me. Have a good day. Gave me a ticket for going through red light. Week and a half later, I go to Edmonton. We do the event. We come out. I'm charged with possession of a controlled substance. So I get back. I do some Googling, and I get on the phone, and I call Health Canada. It's the first thing you're going to do, right? Mm-hmm. I spent 2 hours and 40 minutes the first day to nobody getting through. So the next day, get up in the morning, call right away.
2 hours and what?
40 minutes the first day on hold, and then it just went dead because it was past that time. So the second day, got up in the morning, called it like at 11.
You can't call at 3 in the morning, John.
No. I was on hold for 2 hours and 8 minutes, and I kept Cheryl on the phone for over half an hour to find out more about what we need to do in regards to our license. And so I printed it out. Steps you need to take if you have lost your old MMR license papers. They've expired they have expired on or before March 31st, 2014. Reasons why you should do this, guys, is because it's a really nice cover letter to the RCMP stating exactly that you are protected under the MMR. That's what Cheryl said. If you don't have a copy or you lost your copy or anything like that, request this. Things you're going to need to do. You have to request a copy of your original license.
Well, what happens if you haven't? You had your papers.
Happy
420.
You didn't lose your papers. You had your papers. So
I didn't have my papers.
What did you have?
I had a pipe, man. That's all.
I thought you had your papers on you.
No, I had my expired card.
Oh, it's an expired card. So you actually need to have a piece of paper as well as the card.
I need the expired piece of paper.
And a note from your mom.
Or he kept on saying if I had a note from my doctor and an Aurora card, I would have got away. Yeah. No problem.
Yeah.
But
Show them your LP.
But you don't have to have that, though. You just have to have your piece of paper.
I have to have a copy of my piece of
paper. The expired
paper.
card won't do it.
The expired card won't do it because my card expired in 2012. The piece of paper expires in 2014.
Right.
So I have that year gap where I didn't have a card, I only had a piece of paper.
But it's still expired.
I have 7 cards. I've had a license
So,
in
but
2006.
you're telling me the police officers would have accepted the piece of paper that expires in 2014?
I don't know if he would have, and this is the whole thing, when I asked him to call Health Canada, and this is one of the things I have to talk about, of things that we need to do, and information you should know about your MRI license in regard to an arrest and charges pending under the CDSA, possession of 30 grams. Last week in Edmonton, this is what I need to do to avoid being charged with possession of cannabis. So I've put this all down in a way of just kind of explaining what we need to do.
Yeah.
A, for one, say you're a patient, and you're MMAR, and you're now being... charged with possession of marijuana of your medication, of your cannabis that you're allowed to legally have, and for some strange reason, you don't have your card or your license on you. It has to be a piece of paper, but you happen to have a piece of ID. You need to take the following steps. You need to inform the officer that there is a 24-hour access line to confirm that you are MMAR. If they choose not to do that, you could tell them to go to the Health Canada website. I know you're not going to remember this, but go to www.healthcanada.gc.ca/MMA. Now, here's the next little tricky step, and this is where it comes down to them hiding something. This is the purple page that comes into play. So when you go to this little slash tag, it's going to take you to the licensed producer section of the MMAR, and you're going to click on that and scroll down to the bottom of the purple page and click on the link. Additional information for licensed producers web. So you're actually scrolling down. You're going to click on this next little click. And you'll see that. And this next page is also a purple page. Now you have to look to the gray menu on the right. And on that gray menu on the right, it'll say information from medical practitioners and law enforcement. You then click on the law enforcement to tell them in that section is related to the injunction, to the marijuana access regulations. And then they can also print that out. So, of course... me being me,
We should have.
I did that for you guys.
You got to print it off.
I printed it
This
off.
is the law. You can have this in your car. Give it to law enforcement. It has the information on it about what they should do. This is actually from the government Health Canada website to law enforcement officers.
Exactly, and I was also told this is a great piece of paper. You can carry this on you. People are carrying the Allard injunction. Well, you know what? This is better. It's directly from Health Canada, so they recognize the letterhead. You can tell them to go to this link. Under here on the second page, it has information for law enforcement. I've highlighted it, and underneath has information for municipalities and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And they can it blatantly states right out. Please note that certain individuals who are previously authorized to possess and produce marijuana under the Medical Marijuana Access Regulations, MMR, remain authorized to do so by the virtue of a federal court injunction. That's all they need to read. They need to know that, and that is it. So this is information that I want to see put forth to every law enforcement in every airport so no more patients get harassed, to every RCMP district or any other cough
Does it make clear that you can use your expired papers?
It makes clear that you are protected under, and they have a 24-hour hotline down. Members of the Canadian Police Force who require further information in the course of an investigation under the Controlled and Drug Substance Act or of its regulations can contact Health Canada. Health Canada provides a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week for law enforcement agencies to answer questions, provide guidance and information of registration pursuant to the AMCPR, and to support the activities of the law enforcement officers. So everything is needed. What they need to know, they need to know. They need to know that we're protected, and there's certain things that they need to educate themselves on. And it's funny, as them being law officers and law enforcers, they're not really educating themselves on what laws to enforce.
Okay, can I see that paper?
Thank you.
Good work, Johnny.
That's just one step.
Yep. Okay.
Right,
it's
so,
ready?
I mean-
now I'm ready to dab. So that's just one step. How many steps are there?
Well, we took the steps on what you need to do if you've lost your license. And then there's the steps we discussed, we took the steps of what to do and to inform the licensed producers. Next step, purple page. Information you need to know, tell the party to go to the Health Canada website, click on the link, apply enforcement. If you have any questions, contact me, guys. John H. Berfelo, go to my Facebook. I'll gladly help you. I'll answer questions. I mean, if you need to know, I kind of have really taken a crash course in understanding exactly what I need to do, because I failed at the same time and not presenting the officer with my original paperwork, which is, it's really me just saying, I screwed up. But I did present them with a copy of a card that stated that I was legal. I did present them with my name. I had no problem giving them my medication, telling them what I used it for. And the officer in question said that I was above his payroll.
Oh.
Because I talked about the endocannabinoid system. He asked me what the hemp seeds
I
were
was
for.
above his payroll.
He goes, what are the hemp seeds for? I said, well, I eat those because they got more omega-3, 6s, and 9s. I use the dry sift, and I eat that, and then I take the clear that's attached with MTC oil for transport to help absorb the THC and actually activate the cannabinoids to help bind the receptors to help me with my pain control.
Oh, nice.
And the cop's like, okay. Then I started talking about our company, CRD, Cannabinoid Research and Development, and how we're in Jamaica doing research on cannabinoid research and development and how to help people with chronic pain and other conditions using terpene profiling and different cannabinoids for different conditions. So it's quite a really, I got to sit there, of course, me talking so much. He's like, do you want to catch your plane? You got 15 minutes. So they let me go. I ran on my plane. I got on my plane. They delayed it. Then they asked me, are you going to cause any problems? And I laughed. I said, I don't cause any problems. I said, they're the ones who cause the problems.
Johnny's not a troublemaker.
I didn't do anything wrong.
Johnny be good.
So, and then I got home and I made all the proper phone calls. And so the next steps that I took. So now that I've been charged with cannabis for possession under 30 grams, I mean, come on, I'm on a pension, I do certain things for MedTainer and stuff like that. I'm a promoter, I'm an advertiser, stuff like that. I'm promoting education, what I do in the system. But in reality,
speaker.
Huh?
A motivational speaker.
Whatever you want, Some people say
That's
I'm
what I'd call you.
a crazy guy, but that's okay, What I'd take a look at, guys, is exactly what would have to happen if you're on low income and you can't afford a lawyer to do anything. What steps you need to do? Well, Johnny B here did the steps. First thing he did is he got a hold of the federal Crown Prosecutor's office in Alberta, which wasn't in Leduc. It was outside. It was actually in Red Deer. Okay. So I had to get a hold of the federal prosecutor.
This is in the jurisdiction of where you were arrested.
Jurisdiction where I was arrested because I'm being arrested for cannabis and charge. It's a federal offense. It's not a provincial offense. So it's a different Crown prosecutor. So I got a hold of the proper Crown prosecutor, stated my case. They haven't even received the files yet, of course. So then I took a photocopy of all the documents in question, my photocopy of the charge, a photocopy of my license, my paperwork from Health Canada, the information that I showed you from their website stating for law enforcement activities and what to do. And on top of that, I sent them everything and then a cover letter of what I was talking about with the court case. Mm-hmm. Right? So I have attached information in regards to file number, nothing else, because that's all it is, attached information. The information was the charge, and the next piece of paper was me having a license and its deadline dates, and me being legally able to carry cannabis. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, I sent them the information you have in front of your hand, information that they need to know. And then and that's basically what I sent them. So hopefully they told me to get back to me by April 19th, and if they don't accept these papers, they got to be in Leduc, Alberta on April 20th. I said, well, if that's the case, it's
they're going to drop it.
Well, it's not. It's really a waste of time of Crown prosecutors' time, special federal, because these people aren't all paid like $10 an hour, right? So that was the fax number for that particular court case.
Number. I was just showing off the thing.
But you know what?
Don't call that number.
There's you can if you want. It ain't gonna get you anywhere.
Or you can call it if you want, I guess.
I brought my paperwork over here. I already got some resin on it, so it looks good. So there's some steps that I've learned that I've had to take in order to make sure that this isn't going to happen again, like straight out. So, and I was told that when you do get a copy of your license, because it's not the original, because the program doesn't exist anymore, they'll send me up to 2 copies, but it's a copy, right? So I was like, I can just photocopy as many times as much because, well, I can't really say it, but yeah, pretty much. So, I'm putting one in every luggage. I'm going to put one in my car. I'm going to keep it on my person. So, yeah. It kind of sucks that I have to do this, but they're not going to discuss it. It's not like I can go to Health Canada and say, can I get a card? That would be something I'd have to take back to the court, have the court then issue me a card instead of me having to carry a piece of paper for the next 25 years of my life plus. Because that's basically what I mean.
You should get it laminated.
I do not, as an MMAR patient who has not changed their license, has not made any amendments to it, everything can stay the same. If you want to choose to change, or you have to because you had to move, or your license wasn't enough, or there's all these other factors, reasons why you are unable to still have your MMAR, you have to reapply under the AMCPR. And then with that,
it's the ACMPR, but yes.
It's a new system, and people are still getting the same amount of people are getting 20, 30, 50 grams a day. So we're going to get? whatever you need to use for your pain control, whatever your condition is, and whatever type of medicine that you're using, no doctor's going to tell you what they can and cannot give you, right? So, I mean, it's pretty much, I mean, what are you taking in? I mean, I have a license, and since my surgeries and stuff, my consumption's gone down, but it's been in a different type of a platform, so now I'm only using pure gland heads. I mean, the type of separation that I do, I can never get that from what the Health Canada standards are on grams per what you get per day, because I mean, for me, I'm only smoking the true medicine, and as Mark would say, I mean, I'm taking the pizza out of the pizza box.
You throw the scales way off.
Well, yeah, that's not throwing the scales off.
So good.
It's not quality. It's really. I mean, that was the greatest thing about talking with the officers, because really they've never really seen anything that I've had before, right? I had clear, I had terpenes, I had hash, I had creams. I didn't have bud.
Right.
Okay, I got arrested and
these
charged for cannabis, but
these are
there was no
cops,
there was no form of marijuana other than an extraction form and not bud form, and you can never smell it because it was in 3 containers sealed into a jar.
Yeah.
So it's not like they smelled it. He's like, whoa. When they smelled the dry stuff, because of course when you open up the thing, but they never smelled anything.
He's like, this is some heady shit.
All right. They gave me back my pipe that was full of resin. It was clogged. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Appreciate that.
He's like,
but I mean, the next steps is
full melt?
the next steps is me going to the Leduc courthouse and picking up my medication that was seized, because I was rightfully, it's mine. They have to return it. I'm really looking forward to smoking my hash.
there you go.
So ready to go.
Get your hash back.
Wow.
Police hash. You don't want to
Dabs away,
They might have
guys.
done
So
something
that's
to
what
it.
happened, guys. Dabs.
Dabs away. So lots of stuff going on in the world. Not only Johnny getting arrested, but we're going to talk a little bit more about more arrests happening across the country.
More raids.
More raids.
Raids
more
yesterday.
raids on cannabis culture locations in Toronto.
More raids, not just on cannabis culture locations, but I was hearing about raids that happen on the island and Duncan and stuff like that.
I didn't hear about these ones.
Well, because people
Today?
are keeping them quiet the other day.
Wow.
Yeah. So
People keeping them quiet. Why?
it's interesting because
Don't
when
keep
I
them
hear about the
quiet.
amount of places that are being raided in Toronto, not just cannabis culture, but other agencies, other places.
Ottawa
being
was
shut
raided,
down.
not our stores, but other
Right?
stores.
I mean, we got places up in Prince George that are being shut down and stuff like that, right? That are opening and closing.
Yep.
You got pieces and all over the Lower Mainland that people, I know, like the Canna Clinics and the Wee Medicals and the Weeds and stuff like that. A lot of those locations
Victoria
are shut
okay?
down. Look at Weeds, Glass and Gifts, their main location in Burrard and Davie, it closed down. So I mean, we're seeing lots of closures.
Yeah, and the
A
RCMP
lot.
Here in
did
Vancouver,
send
they
out-
closed it.
They did send out a bunch of letters, the RCMP, to the dispensaries on the island. I believe
Oh,
it was in
that's
Victoria.
right. We did read about in Nanaimo. I read about.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
but
in
this is
Nanaimo.
but this is what's going on. Like there's so much of it now. It's like before there's only a few clubs, and when the raids happened, we heard about it. But now there's so many clubs that are opening overnight, and a lot of people are doing it and on different ways. They figure they know they can get in, get out, stuff like that. And a lot of people are doing it because they want to see the legal market and access and have good intentions. But I mean, what we're seeing it. Well, it's just kind of like the Mexicans running for the border. Before it'd be 1 or 2, and now there's like thousands. They line up every day. The dispensaries line up every morning and open up the doors. How many get raided by the end of the day? Who knows? Some of them stay open.
I know, it's crazy.
And now what they're doing is they're tracking. And if I remember watching the video this morning of what the Toronto police said about Mark and Jody and them tracking everything with the organized crime, the money laundering, everything they're trying to put forward.
Organized crime, my ass.
Well, you know what? 3 people or more is organized crime, and
I
you got to look at the
know.
law. So you know
That's
what?
what they're saying.
It's just the
They're
way
using this
the
language,
law,
though.
the way the law is set and how you can read it as organized crime is 3 or more people. In reality, they put 5 people in jail. That's 5 people conspiring. So that's organized crime.
Well, it's a hell of a lot more than 3 people. So, but yeah, no, I mean, it's really
Bigger
crazy.
investigations. Let's hope we don't see more arrests and what goes down the line over the next little while, because I mean, it's an investigation like it is happening with other dispensaries that people aren't talking about.
They think we're so organized.
But the whole
I was
thing is
laughing. I'm like, if only they knew how disorganized we really were.
Yeah.
I call this disorganized crime, for sure.
Well, you know what? I mean, the whole thing is everybody's got a different way, and the cannabis culture model is about legalization, access, and it was just about access for cannabis, and we shouldn't be prosecuted or thrown in jail for something that we
Bullshit,
have a given
man.
right is
Straight up
consume
bullshit.
and take in a plant that grows freely all around the world. I planted, it grows.
They're
It's a
threatening
weed.
Mark and Jody and the others. Well, at least Mark and Jody with life in prison.
Well, here's the whole thing. I was just reading in the paper that the guy that was producing
probably
or
face.
selling the fentanyl here in Vancouver that killed over 670 people in a couple months got 14 years in prison. 14 years.
14 years.
14 years.
Well, I'm glad
They're
they
dem-
actually put some effort into finally finding someone who's putting fentanyl
But-
on the streets. But
Is that one on?
Considering, is it on? I think it is.
Oh yeah, that one doesn't have an on switch. Sorry.
Considering how
Can we hear Carly?
like, people facing life in prison for cannabis, which is about to be legalized, and he only gets 14 years.
That's what I said. He killed. I'm not going to say he killed. You're going to say that this gentleman in question that was selling the fentanyl to whoever it went to, that drug in particular killed over 670 people in Vancouver. That was public on the website here. That was it was an epidemic. We had Justin Trudeau in here. They put in these extra facilities, and I know close personal people that are very good friends of mine whose loved ones passed away from it and stuff like that. And you know what? I mean, it's not just one. I was talking to my stepsister yesterday, and she has someone that she knows very well. Where two of her friends' sons passed away because they both recreational got high on a weekend, and they both wound up passing away because they bought something they both did at the same time and lost both sons. Not one, but both. I mean, come on, man. Like, that comes from a different ending. When a drug like that is so controlled, it only comes from a government, and then it hits the streets. It kills not hundreds, but like we're talking hundreds and hundreds of people. And then what they put in an emergency, and they put in systems in order to help with that.
This yet?
Well,
like,
why would they? Where's it
coming from?
Well, it's only coming
China?
from only so
Hospitals.
many. Only so many people.
Well,
They said it was stolen from one hospital, so they have record of that, of transactions. I mean, anything
And
gets
the
stolen.
hospital didn't report it to Health Canada or the police. So, I mean, it was
here's all
stolen.
these
Who
stolen,
knows really what actually
sold,
happened, because it was never reported as stolen.
and then people taking a drug, they don't know the dosage or the consistencies or even the ratios of what it would do to do anything. And of course, they're just mixing it with this, spraying it. Like the rumors about it being in weed and stuff like that. You know what? They laced it into all of the heroin, and they killed hundreds of fucking kids and people out there that were just not even hardcore users. These were people who were just recreational. They go out on a weekend and buddy would grab something so they could keep partying. And it's like, you know what?
Not heroin.
What else? It's in everything.
It was
14-year-old girl in Ottawa just recently overdosed. It was her first time trying recreational drugs. She thought she was taking ecstasy, and it was speed with fentanyl in it, and she died.
So this is what's happening. You're looking at a change. You're looking at a drug that was basically it had a patent on it in the last 100 years. And the opioid system. I mean, all the opioid drugs came from a certain thing. And if I read correctly, and if I know what I'm talking about, Dave may be able to talk more about this, because I know he's very educated on when it comes to the opioid drugs and the laws behind
David
it.
Mamalevine.
I don't think there is any more. I think
with the sailor
opioid drugs can now be produced in China. It's not like this where they have this kind of control on it, like RX Media and the pharmaceutical drug industries used to have.
Well, an interesting fact pops into my head as I hear you talking about this. I read in this book by Noam Chomsky that they might have one guy in the DEA looking after the corporate chemicals the guys who sell the chemicals necessary to produce cocaine, for example, or the people who are, I very much doubt they have so many guys concentrating on the diversion of drugs from big pharma to the street. Most of the time, they're out hunting the CIA's competition, which is anybody who the CIA isn't selling to, right? So there's a lot of conflicts of interest going on in the drug war, and we all know that the greatest method of stopping overdose deaths from opioids is to legalize everything, and then to ensure quality, purity, dose levels, dose rates,
education,
and have it right there on the box, and have pharmacists assist with the distribution and use of hard drugs, and then have
including fentanyl,
everything. But I mean,
well, they already are supposed to be the ones controlling the dosages of fentanyl, but it's on the streets.
As far as I can see,
how do you control that though?
If you had legal heroin that was highest quality heroin, pharmaceutical grade Bayer heroin for sale.
I love that stuff.
I'd say that would take care of 95% of the problem right there, because people would want that stuff. It's easier to control, get the right dose level. It works just fine for pain killing. And a lot of people are using the painkillers for pain, would be quite happy with pharmaceutical grade heroin.
I get that.
Maybe
It's called oxycontin,
Right,
morphine,
exactly. Isn't that already a
Demerol,
thing?
Fentanyl that was killing all people.
Yeah,
that is
my
they're all.
Isn't
They're
the
all
problem with fentanyl that they're
forms
overdosing
of-
because it's so hard to dish out tiny little chunks of the drug?
There's
No,
a
it's
really
because
good
it's
video.
sensitized so hard. It's so potent. It's 800 times more
extremely
stronger than heroin itself.
So it's super potent, but there's this really great
Like,
video
it's
out
more
there that's
potent than
circulating,
heroin itself.
and I think it was a co-op video that was put out to create awareness, and they show you using, I think it was like sugar or something, and then a powder that's supposed to represent fentanyl, and it shows you how when you crush these two powders and you put them together, they're different consistencies, even though they're both powdered. So when you go and you press them, it doesn't evenly distribute this really, really, really potent substance. So each pill gets an itsy bitsy tiny amount, and they all get a little bit of the fentanyl effect. It creates these little pockets of fentanyl. So somebody might get a pill with almost nothing in it. Somebody else will get a pill that has all these big clumps. And it's the same thing with pills, with other things too. You just can't
the same thing
properly
with
mix it,
pop
so they
brownies.
have no way of knowing.
It's the same thing with pop brownies
Yeah,
too.
it's true. It's like
Right? It's saturation
lethal
points, and that's
dose-
why.
The lethal dose of these drugs is very small. Heroin, it's a small pile of sand. And with fentanyl, it's a couple of grains of sand.
Well, that's the whole thing.
fentanyl,
is
it's
what they're
about
doing
1
with
grain
it.
of sand.
Yeah, it's like half a grain of sand.
It's
And so
completely
you
ridiculous
need
on
a
how they made
professional.
these drugs so potent. For what are the reasons why these drugs are being made? I mean, there's nothing out there.
Unnecessary.
It's unnecessary. Like, you're talking something we can't even use. So I mean, it's just a store for what? What are they looking at? Like,
They're-
why are they producing such a high potency type of drug that even a grain or half a grain kills somebody?
The
Who's
cops,
putting it in the? Who's putting?
Come
it
on,
in
how
the-
do you cut that? I'm just
Pharmaceutical,
curious.
it's
What do you take that one little
pharmaceutical.
molecule and like give it a squish
Yeah,
and mix
exactly.
it with some
How
sugar?
do you cut that?
How do you cut that? How do you take that small of a drug and put it into
There's
a vat
no
of,
safe way to
of
cut
whatever? How's
then
why
so
is this being
who the
produced on
fuck made
such
it?
that type of level?
Who
Well,
do you
it's
think?
synthesized.
The
It's
evil
made in.
pharmaceutical industry.
Well,
of
it's
course.
scientists.
in the
It's
first
scientists, and when you take that molecule and you can make that molecule, and then it's just like kind of like it's
there's
like
no way to stop people
decarboxylating
from making it.
cannabis. When you decarboxylate THC, there's certain activation points that makes it more
Don't we
potent than
get
the
to a
original
weird
molecule.
point where you can
I'm
just
not a
kill
scientist,
someone
but-
by flicking a little piece of dust on them?
Yeah, that
We've
is
been
an
at that point for a
extremely scary-
while now. There's this.
Well, we're getting to that
part
point.
of this movie called Brain Candy by the kids in the hall.
Yeah.
And then they have this one part where they're all sitting around the big table at the pharmaceutical firm, and this guy's pitching his idea for a drug, and he's like, "Well, it's a lot like Stummies," and Stummies is the head of the company's favorite drug, the one that he cut his teeth on and made his name on. And he's like, "Go on," and he goes, "Yes, it's exactly like
milligrams.
Stummies, and the twist, it's a much bigger pill." And so they're always, they have very few success stories in the pharmaceutical industry. You can spend billions investigating a drug, and it turns out it's a dead end. So a lot of their innovation is just repackaging old products. And for heroin, well, less potent has already been there, codeine, Tylenol 3s, that sort of thing. So let's go more potent. And then they just keep innovating in that direction until it's ridiculous. And a lot of the time, also, this is for
Should be illegal.
This
It
is for
should be.
convenience of the black market distribution things. If you can carry like $1 million worth of fentanyl in your hand, right? And $1 million worth of heroin is in more like a suitcase.
Right.
Well, you want the thing that's easier to smuggle and easier to transport. So they're meeting the needs of the black market.
Right here.
You eliminate the black market.
Everybody's got plastic now. That's
You-
how they move money now. Shit,
It eliminates-
BitTorrent, stuff like that.
Yeah. So all the time with alcohol, with cocaine, with all these other drugs, the black market encourages a concentration of drugs to make it easier to smuggle and move about.
Higher potency, easier to transport.
Yeah, people when they alcohol
That's why they
the
love
rum
shadows
runners
and stuff.
didn't run. They're not beer runners; they're rum runners. And the reason
Right.
that rum runners is they wanted a more concentrated product. It was more bang for the buck, more economical for delivery, and you make more money. So
Yes.
that's the way.
I
It's
prefer
prohibition's
vodka.
fault. Prohibition ended. We could end the overdose deaths quite easily if you had high quality shatter like on every other block, and it was available at a good price. There was economies of scale, and they were growing mountainsides of marijuana and making these really excellent hashes and shatters for a low price. a lot of people would smoke that instead of the heavy-duty painkillers on now because it's a safer, cheaper, more effective option.
Yes.
I think the
David-
part that sorry.
Oh, well, I was just going to say, David, I want to also talk to you about last night you were at the Anne McClellan event. We're going to get to that next, and we have Dan here as well, Danny K. Dank Rez in the house here. And he was also at the event with you last night and had some questions for Ms. McClellan. Is it
Yes.
Mrs. McClellan? Is she married?
The
Ms.
formerly honorable Anne McClellan.
Formerly honorable.
I don't know what the correct nomenclature
But-
is.
But so, okay, I also wanted to ask you, David, we were on this talk of shatter just now and potency.
Yeah.
Have you seen the video with Chief Saunders in it, where he's talking to, I think, CP24, and there's like explosions going off in the video? They have like this B-roll of exploding shatter factories. It's one of the most harsh. Did you end up finding it?
Yeah, but it's like not very good
That's
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah.
he probably doesn't.
Did you still load it up? Yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah, it's not the best, but it's the only one we got.
He probably doesn't mention that doesn't happen in a regulated marketplace where if we could regulate the production of shatter, it could be in labs by chemists out of the area of residential areas. No one would be endangered. They'd have special rooms designed to handle blasts and ventilation, and they have all this laboratory equipment that makes it super safe to do it. They could do it in a closed loop system and have little, if any, residue of toxins and all this. They could use CO2 and all these things. They could make it super clean, super safe, super affordable, but they choose not to because they make more money with a boogeyman and an exclusive club and an excuse for an exclusive club. Oh, it's too dangerous for everybody to have. Only millionaires can grow it. Only millionaires can sell it. So that's kind of the business they're in, and that's basically the pitch she attempted to make to a room full of people, I think, who knew otherwise. So pretty much every question she had was skeptical questioning this or that part of the whole task force process. Do you want me to tell what I said?
Yeah, you were the first one up to the mic, weren't you?
I'm really good at getting to the mic first because I know sometimes they can only allow 3 or 4 questions. So I like to be a part of the conversation. So I ran up there. And I said, I have a concern, I have an understanding, and I have a question, because they were trying to limit me to a question. So I was saying, no, I got this organized. It won't be long. I'll make it concise. But a concern, understanding, question. My concern is harmless people are going to be hurt post-legalization from the legalization model. Now, I don't want that to happen. I don't think anyone wants that to happen. And my understanding is that this whole reefer madness idea that being perpetuated by the government, perpetuated by the task force. I learned from Susan Boyd the task force was not interested in hearing any evidence, looking at any evidence that might question the whole your kids are getting stupid and crazy from pot narrative that they're trying to push. So my question was, how are you going to protect the young and the poor if you won't look at the evidence that they're not getting stupider and they're not getting crazier in the general population stats? We don't see a rise in psychosis or schizophrenia. We don't see a dip in IQs. If anything, IQs are going up, and psychosis has stayed at 1 or 2% in all Western societies over the last 50, 60 years. So there's no evidence it's making kids stupid or crazy. How are you going to protect the young and the poor if you keep
and it helps
spouting
a lot
that
of kids.
reefer madness? And it helps a lot. I didn't have time to go into it, but as a substitute for harder drugs like pharma or alcohol, as a way to avoid suicides, as a way to avoid drunken driving and car crashes.
As a medical, I mean, look at Sanjay Gupta's coverage on CNN of actual like smaller children who use marijuana.
Oh yeah.
I mean, you can't these labels and age limits and things don't make sense because certain people,
They know how it
And
regulates.
Ethan Russo says that kids under the age of 12 or prepubescent kids don't even have the ability to get high. They can't get high. So, well,
I got high.
but that doesn't necessarily mean it doesn't affect the development of their brain, though.
I always think back to the fact that, there's cannabinoids in mother's breast milk. Mm-hmm. So if in nature they're like, here, this is a really essential part about this like superfood that you need to start your life and be really healthy. I mean, I think that kind of says a lot about the fact that that's one of the essential nutrients in that. So, and that's when you're newborn.
And cannabis has been used by teens for thousands of years. We didn't have these ideas. And an adult was like 12, 13, 14 years old for the longest time.
Yes.
And so we've been using cannabis and evolving with it. If anything, it's associated with neurogenesis, which is the creation of brain cells. So if it alters the brain, it probably alters it for good. We do have some prominent examples of teen cannabis users, Bob Marley, Paul Simon, Barack Obama, and others. Me
That
personally, it helped me avoid
about
suicide
Trump?
when I was a teen. So I think
Trump too, yeah.
We
Trump
need-
smoke some.
in order to remove the red tape around industrial hemp, in order to allow for poor people to compete with the large industry and to have boutique cannabis people, and in order to protect our young people, we need to give them safe places to buy and smoke pot. Get them off, so they're not driving around smoking pot in their cars, so they're not overdosing on alcohol and pharma, so they're not committing suicide and they have a nice life.
So, David, I'm with you on that issue, and I think that's an important issue.
Yeah.
There's another issue, though, that with Anne McClellan being in town, I think it would be right to point out.
Yeah, but
And that's
Danny
one-
took care of that
That's
because we
right.
could ask more than one question. We were more
There's a
than
bit
one.
of a
Do you wanna-
conflict going on
change?
here with this Anne McClellan person.
Yeah.
And I think Danny's going to be able to walk us through this one
I'm
here.
conflicted over why you haven't taken your bong rip yet.
Oh, damn. You're right. I haven't.
Jared
Okay.
needs to do a bong rip. We've been
Okay.
sitting here. I've been smoking hash.
So-
and now we need to hear what's going on over here.
Danny K from Cannabis Culture magazine, editor. Tell him what's going on with last night. You had a question for her, too.
I did have a question for her. I did my best to listen to her speech and to try and come at it with an open mind, but there was one thing that kept kind of thumping in the back of my head, and it presented itself. She kept talking about the ideas of surprises, and one thing I was surprised to see during her PowerPoint presentation was the logo of a law firm in the bottom left corner. That law firm is Bennett Jones, okay? Now, Bennett Jones is a huge law firm. There's an office in every city in the country, right? Giant law firm. She is a senior consultant, and they also have a senior partner. And that senior partner is a man named Hugo Alves, who represents several LPs and other large cannabis companies.
What's her name?
Anne McClellan is...
Oh, yeah, I know who she is.
Yeah, you know who
She
she
represent
is.
LPs?
Bennett Jones, apparently, one of the things she talked about
How does she
they
represent?
weren't paid to be...
She's a lawyer for Bennett Jones.
She's a lawyer for Bennett Jones, but she was also the chair of the task force for
Okay, so
legalization.
where's their tie to licensed producers?
The tie-
they
She
are
works
the
for
law firm that
basically-
represents a whole bunch of licensed producers.
The
Okay, that's
Canadian
fine,
government
yeah.
didn't pay her to be the head of the task force. She was still collecting
Yeah.
checks from
Yeah.
Bennett Jones at the time.
Yeah.
So it just sort of brought the question in my head: is the task force, was she approaching it from the position of like a government mandate where she was weighing the evidence and trying to be unbiased, or was she coming at it from the position of being paid by a law firm, probably a very substantial salary, that also has a vested interest in the licensed producer model for
Okay,
cannabis
I hear what
moving
you're
forward?
saying. So because
Yeah.
she works for this law firm that is involved with licensed producers, her, and I understand exactly what you're saying because she probably has a
conflict of interest.
It's conflict of
Well,
interest,
totally.
and it's saying
Which would be
is
okay
because
if they
She's
had
in
this sense-
charge of the task force that's tasked with
Is she in
legalization.
charge?
If they
Yeah,
had
she's
someone
the
like
head of the
her,
chair.
if they
She's
had
the
her
chair.
and Jody, then there would be some balance. But when you only have the perspective from the LP side, then it is completely a conflict.
shouldn't
of
even have it
interest.
at all.
Well, no, I think
Well, here's the
that there
whole
should be
thing is-
somebody who represents LPs, and there should be
Absolutely.
somebody
What are
who
we lobbying
represents
to do that?
the mom and pop dispensaries
that
like
was-
us, so that you can
It should
cheer
be-
both
it should
perspectives.
actually, it shouldn't be people with financial interests in these businesses at all. It should be experts in other fields like, drug policy or science. There's there's things that you actually need people with an educational sort of
is it
intellectual
Absolutely.
background
Absolutely.
rather
I
than
think
these
doctors on-
politicians who are working literally for the companies that want to get in there. So this is like some of the worst toadying
Who do you think the
ever, and,
politicians
like-
work for?
And just this whole idea of
companies.
they're basically putting the people. It's like putting the fox in charge of the hen house.
Absolutely. The companies she represents, or that Bennett Jones represents, are the ones who were sponsoring the event last night. It was definitely
Oh, it's even better.
a
They also
vehicle for
sponsored the
licensed
event.
produ- They sponsored the event. The only one that wasn't on there was that Bennett Jones logo, and it came up in the PowerPoint presentation.
Yeah.
So the fact that she works for someone that hasn't vested interest in the future, pocket-wise, like money-wise, makes the...
Well, it's corporate, and that's where
Absolutely
that's
corporate.
where your
It's they do this with
papers
everything
and
though. It's like
everything.
putting
The world's
oil
corporate.
executives in charge of the EPA or whatever.
Well, you
It's-
got you got
Absolutely.
marketing geniuses,
They do
and
that,
you got
though.
big business people. Yes.
No,
and
and
you
it's-
got business people
this
trying
is-
to move forward in industry, and it's interesting in how legalization is getting closer and
Well,
closer, and at the same time it seems to be getting
That's
farther.
one
in
thing
certain
that she
ways.
kept repeating throughout the entire speech was that legalization is happening. Legalization is happening.
will
Our prime minister has made sure that legalization is happening. He's been
Yeah.
very clear. Blah, blah, blah. Legalization, it's not about legalization anymore. It's about monopolization. It's about the fact that that tide has shifted so far that they can't pull back from it. It's going to happen. Chances are it's probably going to happen within a few months of the next federal election, so everybody forgets all the other shit the Liberals haven't done.
Yep.
And goes back to the votes by their nose again. And I think that was one thing that really echoed for me last night. Is it's not about legalization anymore. That's going to happen.
What do
but
you
it's
say-
about
what do you say-
grasping
what do you say if
what
they
can cut
offer-
out of a legal market? Like, how is it appropriate that if we're opening up recreational marijuana, only 34 companies have the right to grow it? 34.
Wait a second here.
Makes
Six
no
of them
sense.
represented by Bennett
so let
Jones,
me ask you this
coincidentally.
question: out of the 34,
6 of them.
how,
6 of them.
do you think 34
Wow.
licensed producers can supply 35 million people a day?
No.
God, no.
So where do you think
Absolutely not.
legalization is going to come from?
Good
Grow
question.
your own. So if they gave you and they came with legalization, and they said that yes sir, you can grow 10 plants. Anybody in the country can grow 10 plants.
That'd
How
be
would you
good.
what do you think about that, guys?
I'd say that's pretty
But
goddamn good.
you can't say you can sell it. But we're saying now we have a market where we have
You should be able to
access.
trade it or give it to
Absolutely.
your
That-
friends.
But how do you regulate that? I mean, it's one of those
Well,
things.
see,
where you
now we
regulate
got
it
the
to a
whole
point
country
where you
growing.
might as well
You know
just
what? Regulations? Yeah, it's
So,
right.
but what if somebody comes over
Why?
and steals your
Farmers
marijuana?
market.
Is there an additional charge? Like, are
Well,
you
here's
charged?
how things. It's
Show
interesting.
the harm.
But if we look at this at the platform, they're saying 4 plants.
I don't
For a
understand
legal
how the
market.
how
No,
the government
we need the
tries to have it
tomato
both
model.
ways.
Let whoever grow whatever the fuck
Exactly.
they want. Let whoever smoke whatever they want. And then we
For-
should have an
It
exclusive
says
medical
4.
market.
I
How do
keep
you have,
saying this.
like-
I've been saying this
All
for
right, all
years,
right, all
guys.
right.
How do you have
One
it
at a
both
time
Mandatory
here,
ways?
one at a
sentencing
time,
for 6
boys.
plants or more, right? That's what they have set in
And
law
grow.
right now. And that was the law that was set in before we got rid of Harper. He got that law put in. It took him years to do it. So now we have a look at a law. You got mandatory sentencing for 6 plants or more. You have a platform coming in and recommendations to legalize 4 plants for everybody. 6 plants will go to jail.
What kind of logic is that on the government side? Really?
But it's sitting there in front of us.
It's a dangerous product, but you can grow it yourself. Don't worry.
They said this was a dangerous product. They removed it from my goods. Said
Exactly.
a dangerous good.
You can grow it
Medtainer.
yourself.
You know, it's to me,
Dangerous
it's like
products.
produce in a grocery store or a farmer's market.
Absolutely.
It's about as dangerous. Or less. So you got
I
to.
buy strawberries and you see it, and they have mold on them sometimes. In the produce, you take that moldy one out.
Right. Exactly. Just like marijuana.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
If we all can grow our own, I mean, that starts with this. That's the starting point of what we see called legalization. Because at that point, like we always say, Jared, we weedify. And when everybody can grow their own, it's going to charge anything. They're going to start inspecting people after every house down the street's got a plant in the
It'll
front
break
yard.
the system down.
Really,
Come on,
and
if they
you
put
break
in a
it down that
legalization
way, then-
process, I'm going to say we should give a plant to everybody. Plant a plant.
But they're going to throw people in jail with life sentences at the same time they're doing this?
Oh no! But the guy who got charged for selling the fentanyl is going to do 14 years. He'll probably get out in 7.
Yeah. No, it makes no sense. And what I would have asked Anne McClellan was, how can you continue to criminalize people for something that you're going to license other people to do and neither is harmful? Like, you can't, is that constitutional? Can they have a criminal law against, for some people in society and not for other people in society? Isn't it? Isn't that a bylaw thing?
There is precedent, but it's usually like you can't pretend to be a doctor. Like if you need a license, only certain people can do that.
it's
with
the
a
same
license
thing
or
with people who
practice law.
sell
But
tomatoes.
to grow weed,
Right.
I mean, it's exactly people who grow tomatoes.
But that's
And
not
even down the
criminal
train
law,
of the
though.
Of the extracts,
If you
like,
go
people
and
make
grow
corn
tomatoes
syrup,
and
too.
set up a company and started selling tomatoes without a tomato growing license, you
Well,
wouldn't.
no, everybody's got a license to do
Wait,
farming.
I think all you
I
need
gotta
is,
get-
get in
is an
trouble, but you
HST
wouldn't face
number, and
life
they'll
Right,
deal with
Exactly.
you.
Right.
Pretty much, if you get a number and you're going to start a legal business of some sort, and how you're going to proceed with that platform, whatever you're going to do with it, it's like any other business in life. It's if you want to sell Coca-Cola at a corner store, you got to get a license. You start buying things.
Yeah, but it's not
If you
criminal
wanna-
law that
You're
deals
not
I know,
with
but
Not
here's
at
the
all.
whole thing. Has
Get
any
thrown
have
into
any
jail
has
for the
any
rest
of these
your life.
dispensaries
You're not gonna have
tried?
your kids taken away
Here.
for selling Coca-Cola
Here,
without a
here's a
license.
question: Is there any dispensaries now, or is there any dispensary tried buying from one of these legal dispensaries, legal LPs, and then selling it at their storefront? I mean, have we seen that yet? Have we seen any of that
Johnny,
LP being storefronted yet?
I want to hear a question, or I want to hear an answer about these mysterious auctions that I've heard about that the LPs have been having. I just keep hearing these rumors. Now, I don't know if this is true at all, and I'm not...
Okay, let's watch my face.
Right, okay. This is a rumor. I do not have evidence of this. This is not something that's been backed up by anything, but I keep hearing this weird rumor about auctions where there is apparently LP weed available for auction in large amounts to brokers who put it onto the black market. Is such a thing possible even?
How about this? They can't supply enough for the market to begin with,
That's
so
what
why
I
would it be
thought.
going out the back door? And
That'd
really,
be-
in reality,
That's
I mean,
what I wondered. Maybe
I
because
mean,
they can sell it for
okay,
more.
so here, let me hear. I've heard some rumors that some of the weed that was then rejected and then they had to get rid of. The rumor is, oh yeah, they sold it out the back door to some guy down the street who's moving 100 pounds. I mean, come on, guys. I mean, these facilities
They're
have
not
spent
doing that.
millions and millions of dollars. Do you really think? I've seen the machines. They're big as this room, and they put it in the mixer with horse shit. They combine that shit before it leaves there. It's so secure. It's unreal.
And the risk of
vaults,
them
the
getting
cameras,
caught and losing
you
everything
can't-
would be
they
too
can't-
big.
They can't get it off the facility without it being signed for, going through doors, cameras, everything.
But Johnny, don't
I mean,
they sell to other markets overseas?
There's rumors that there are some people doing some import-export, but at the same time, I don't know that because I'm not involved with those
Isn't
companies.
it legal to do that though?
Well, there is import-export licenses that you can obtain through Health Canada through the license producing field,
Yeah.
because I know people have applied for these licenses, and some companies have obtained them and stuff like that. But at the same time, I mean, what are we looking at as importing is where we would probably be looking at more than exporting. I heard rumors Tilray's exporting. But if they can't even supply the
hear-
market, why would they be
I hear
exporting
they
it
export
out?
the good stuff because they can get more for it overseas and it's really top quality, and then they keep the shitty stuff for Canadians.
Rumors. Yes, and it was just like everybody
That's
keeps
just,
the best.
I don't
weed.
have any proof of these things.
You know what? Once
conjecture.
again,
I don't.
once
I
again, we
probably
got
shouldn't be saying these
35
things,
million
but
people.
Sometimes you just
plus
hear
in Canada.
rumors. I'm not
35 million
shit,
people in
but-
Canada, 35 licensed producers. So do you really think they're selling weed anywhere else
I
right now?
seriously doubt
They
it.
can't even fucking supply the fucking damn
and
country.
you know, Jordan Sinclair
Really, come on.
tweet
That's what it
told
comes
me
down to.
that they can't possibly even supply the market they already have.
Exactly, they can't.
And because I asked him about are the LPs going to take over recreational weed, and he says I don't think they could because they just can't grow enough. No, they can't even grow enough for now.
And the stuff that they are growing is filled with like chemicals
There's
because
no chemicals. They
not-
can't. That's
not
just
all
rumors
of them,
and
just
no,
a
it's
couple of them.
not.
You know, I
No,
know
it's not,
Whistler
Johnny
Mountain
B.
is
No,
is
myclobutanol was found on multiple licensed producers in cannabis.
Okay,
Yeah.
certain ones, and we're looking at multiples, but of course,
Yeah,
there's always
That is
Metro,
true.
Aurora,
Hydrogen
and what was the other
cyanide
one?
in the pot.
Yeah, when
Hydrogen
you burn
cyanide.
it,
That's
when you
what it
burn, when you
off-gases.
burn it,
What's
it
in it?
releases hydrogen
There's,
cyanide.
Johnny, haven't you heard the
Myclobutanol.
veterans? The veterans have been talking to the media, and they're all choked, literally, by smoking bad weed.
They're
from-
actually, I
This is
haven't,
what they
I didn't
allegedly.
read the article
this
yet.
is according to them. We're not,
I got enough
obviously,
stress
we
in
don't
my
have
life,
any
guys.
information
Come on.
that hasn't made it to the media yet. But
No,
you gotta
they,
be careful with
it
these
is in.
things.
It made it to the media. I covered it
the
on
media.
I'm sorry.
my
You
show.
know what?
Yeah, it's in the Globe and Mail.
It's in the
People
Globe
gotta
and
grow
Mail.
their own.
Yeah, people have to grow their own, and it's a really dangerous
Hydrogen
situation.
cyanide.
And I haven't read the article on it yet, but I
Can we read the chat?
believe that there are some patients who are putting together a class auction
the
lawsuit
chat?
against one of the LPs.
Yeah.
Which would be awesome because Health Canada isn't gonna do shit, even though they said in an article
Health
to the
Canada-
Globe and Mail
Hey, Johnny, didn't you hear
slamming
about the
licensed
cover-up and all this?
producers that they
What
would
cover-up?
be
Well, Health Canada didn't tell
harshly
Canadians
penalizing.
when they knew about it. So the Globe and Mail was doing an investigation, found out that they were putting this banned pesticide in the pot and hiding it in the ceiling or all this kind of crazy stuff.
Hiding it what?
Yeah, there's a bunch of crazy shit. But anyways, the Globe and Mail found out that these LPs were doing this. They reported it to Health Canada. Health Canada apparently knew about it and did not do anything about it until the Globe and Mail went public with it.
Oh no, they didn't do anything about it.
Yeah.
The one of the LPs, Metrum called.
Globe and Mail called them out for it. Said they didn't. We told them a long time ago. Now we're publishing it. They still haven't done anything
Right,
about it.
and Health Canada also.
And Health Canada told no one.
They also wouldn't comment when they were asked what the penalties were going to be towards the LPs that broke their regulations. But in the big Globe and Mail article, same newspaper, in a big Globe and Mail article that was slamming dispensaries, Health Canada was very happy to say, oh yeah, if anybody didn't meet our regulations, we would come down on them hard with possibly fines and maybe even closure. So they make it seem like they can really be trusted. Their producers can really be trusted in an article that makes dispensaries look bad, but in an article that makes the licensed producers look bad, they're like, I don't know. We didn't really know much about that, you know. They only called a few of their patients, and they just said that they had accidentally used the wrong pesticide mixed. And then a couple patients accidentally mentioned the word myclobutanol, and then those patients went public.
Yeah. No, they knew, and it showed that they knew about it, but they didn't actually inform people of what was really there.
Yeah.
So it's actually, you got to just go to the Globe and Mail, read about it. Plant Builder in the chat, we're looking at the big chat screen up here. Plant Builder said, the Mataro Blue from Cannabis Culture is likely LP weed. I love that Mataro Blue. It's so good. If that's LP weed, damn.
That is
Sign me up. Because that shit's really nice.
You know what? I mean,
I don't
We don't sell any
have we looked
LP.
around the world and what's legalizing?
I'm pretty confident.
What countries
it's
are
not.
moving forward with medical and what's going on, just not just here in Canada, but around the world. We're starting to see a pretty big change as we see more and more every day. More and more countries are legalizing. More and more countries are changing. So, I mean, we're definitely seeing a change. And, you know, I see a future. We're going to be able to go anywhere around the world and be able to have your medicine on you or whatever. They're going to classify it as recreational, just marijuana, where you can't carry your liquor on you and you carry on, but you put it in your luggage. Well, I kept my cannabis on my carry-on. That's one thing.
But when you're on the plane, sometimes you can consume alcohol. So that would be a pretty cool
You can
feature.
buy.
You gotta buy it from them, though.
Yeah, but
Yeah, but
That's
whatever.
the rule with all of it.
Whatever.
You just gotta buy it from them.
You know,
But
get
that's
buy
called
some
warfare
Canada
at its
drink
co- at its
from
core,
from my
you know?
hostess.
So they're forcing Jody. So Jody, if she wants to be able to smoke,
She gotta buy it
has
from
to
them
buy
now.
it from one of the LPs. Isn't
Yep.
that insane?
She gotta buy it from them now.
Is she get a licensed grower?
Yeah, she could do that.
Well, then
Yeah.
I would strongly suggest she considers that probably.
Yeah, that'd be-
I would much rather find me a licensed grower than a licensed producer. That's
No
for damn
kidding.
sure.
Well,
So
there's
yeah,
two different
it
ways of
doesn't
getting
agree.
at it, and the problem is with more of the people. Man, I'm not gonna get into it.
So I want to play this video, but I just wanted to ask Danny, did you want to say anything else about last night and what happened there?
Or did you want a bong rip?
Or yes,
and
or
yes.
all, or both.
Definitely bong rip.
I do know that parking is $5.30
I mean,
a day for me.
it does not surprise me that there's that level of collusion. Really, like as I just said, the essence of all of this, if we look at it from a post-legalization model, is that it's about the money, and it's a class warfare system where they want to break everyone down who isn't going to buy it from them and make them buy it from them. Whether it's government supplied or like top companies with very rich people and super elites of the world at the top, that's what they want in control of this market, because it is a market that rivals not only alcohol and tobacco, but goes into all these other worlds that sort of, whether it's
Oil's
probably
a big
bigger.
one.
oils or like pharmaceuticals, the impact on that. I mean, these are
Basically,
textile
everything
industry
hemp can
impact.
be made into. And look at the control they
So
have over
got-
hemp.
Absolutely. So they got to keep their foot on it. Got to keep the boot on the throat. And so you get something like a person who is cashing a check from a law firm representing the elites of this argument, being the head of the task force given by the government to decide how legalization is going to go. It's
And
totally
a
fox in the
former
house.
police chief.
The former police chief. So you got the handled law enforcement side by someone who has worked his entire life arresting for drugs or for cannabis.
Yeah.
And
But
on the
also
policy side, you got
profiting
someone- absolutely.
from prohibition. Police, that's the thing that people, I don't think they think, cops are just doing their job or whatever. Cops profit from prohibition.
Their budget.
That's their whole bread and butter.
$30,000 per raid is the budget.
Yeah.
So if you're getting $30,000 every time, I mean, just imagine what could be done with $30,000 to actually protect children and help them with their various
But they
issues,
keep
or
doing their
people in
expensive
general.
rates.
Yeah, no, it's brutal.
They just keep raiding. They just keep putting boot on
The
throat.
amount
which
of money
is-
spent on just raiding cannabis culture dispensaries is unfucking believable. I can't believe how it's brutal. And speaking of that, our cannabis culture dispensaries in Toronto have been raided repeatedly over the last few days. Every morning they've been getting raided. At our cannabis culture 7-Eleven Queen Street East location, it was raided yesterday and the day before. They've arrested everybody there, the entire staff essentially. So I believe that 7-Eleven one is going to have to close its doors for a little while. Unfortunately. So they're really coming after us hard. There's just, unfortunately, when they arrest all the staff repeatedly, there's nobody there to staff it. It at least takes a little while to restaff it. And it's like, how many times can we keep putting people, it's like, I hate,
How many people are gonna just keep
it's like
walking in there
cannon
to go?
fodder. So at
But
some
if
point,
you think about it, I mean, in every injustice, this is the battle that must happen, and people and those with power are going to come down as hard as they possibly can. And that's what they're doing right now,
Yeah.
because they've given us don't worry, it's going to be legal. But there's ways to control things. Like illegal just means the government have taken their hands off it. Once it becomes legal and this giant overarching system exists, those who aren't in line with that system are going to get smacked down.
Yeah.
That's what they're going to try and do, and I think we all know that. But you just come back stronger. It's like that tipping point in civil rights movements or in any. There's always that really extreme moment, that teachable moment that happens, and then tyranny must end, right?
Well, and I hope that people. I should get a list, or I'd love to be able to show. I mean, there's a lot of people that have been arrested that work for us, and we have a big list. It's not just Mark and Jody and Brittany, Chris and Aaron. We have a whole roster of people at our stores that have been arrested and have crazy charges now too. So this is like a
ridiculous
big.
on all these charges, and if any of these people are licensed or anyway, there's all these procedures. I know you guys have lawyers. There's a big team of what's going on, but I mean,
Yeah, we have really good
what's
lawyers.
Going on. Exactly.
For everybody's covered. The legal
why I have to
fees
do
for all of our
everything myself
people,
because,
of course, are paid for. We pay for the legal fees for everybody, and yeah, we have a great team of lawyers. Some of the
Well,
best
let's take
in
a
the
look at how
country.
many clinics you got. The Canada clinics being raided several times. You got several charges against all of their staff there in Toronto. You got Weeds, Glass and Gifts, and Aaron and they were all Chris were both charged out of there, and all kinds of charges coming in there. Not just that, then you got MGM. You got so many different dispensaries. How many thousands of hours and how many charges? I'm just curious. How many people are post charging working in dispensaries in Toronto? I bet you're looking at hundreds of people have to go to court because I know one
They're all
company.
getting their charges dropped.
For a
though.
crime that will not be a crime by the time it ever reaches court.
I know.
You know what? I've spent a long time as a
whole
court
thing is,
doing
it's
court
kind of the way
reporting.
the laws
in this
work.
country, it takes 2 years before a crime.
It's through the way how laws work even with
2 or
WCB,
3.
so they have certain
So why
laws that are
arrest for
set in
someone-
place, and
It's
if
gonna
you
be
fall
legal.
behind
Makes
those
no
laws,
sense.
then you're charged under that.
Absolutely.
That thing, and that's what sucks. You're getting all these people charged before they change the law, but you're still being charged under that. It's not like it was we'll speed up. It's like the laws changed, and I reflected WCB because it used to be Workmen's Compensation Board. When they went into a different system, all the laws changed. So if you fell behind, you're in this category. If you fell before, you're in that category. No matter which way you look at it, you can't change the law. And that's what they're going to do with this. The other people are going to get charged. They're going to change the law. No matter which way you look at it, they're all going to have criminal records. They're all going to have that law. Hopefully the charges will be dropped and they'll start looking because prosecutors just don't have the time or the energy, depending on what cases or who's being pushed from where or what.
They have nothing else to do.
What government agencies are pushing? Well, you know what? It's just like anything. The one officer in there, he's like, I'm just doing my fucking job. I understand. The other guy's just
else?
doing, well, you know what? You're
There's
this,
other
this,
stuff they
this,
should
that.
be doing, but
So-
they don't do it.
It's just, it's a sorry, sad truth to say what's
It's
going on. with
easier
the
to get
industry.
people for this. It's
Totally,
like,
it's easy. It gets out in the open, so
yeah,
it's easy
cherry
to nab
pick,
something
low
for
hanging
this.
fruit, basically.
Definitely. So
Yeah.
I don't
the
hide
other
what
things,
I
the
do.
fentanyl
I'm-
crisis, the murders in Stanley Park, these things aren't getting addressed.
No. Well, and it's always like this. But crime goes down every year. So the cops really don't have as much to do. So they're looking for things to inflate their budgets. They have
Absolutely.
to propagandize and make up this whole drug war thing in order to exist at all. And that's how they get these $1 million budgets with all this crazy like military equipment. What are they using that military equipment for?
Well, if you think about it, and under today, I mean, the government of the United States is pushing very hard in the NATO discussion that every country in NATO spend at least 2% on defense, 2% of their budget
Right.
on defense, and that is a huge amount of money.
How much do they spend
That
on
is
Canada?
And
insane.
I mean, we've on a military level, they're talking about buying fighter jets,
It's
but
such a crime that exists at all.
Absolutely.
It's disgusting. It's just what a huge thing for the military-industrial complex, the private
Exactly.
businesses that own the weapons factories. That 2%, man, they're just like cha-ching. They get 2% budget of all those countries.
the police when the police showed up here, they
Unbelievable.
showed up here
That's
in
some sick
in
shit.
black vans with blacked out windows. There were several of these black vans, blacked out windows, unmarked stuff that showed up here to raid and to take.
When we
everything
were
out.
here, when
how
the raid
far are
happened.
we from when that's like a armored personnel carrier coming to crash down the door?
Not
With
very
that kind of
far.
money thrown around?
In the States, it is.
Absolutely.
Yeah. No,
Sheriff
this is
of
brutal.
Podunk Town.
They're militarizing
Got a
local
tank.
police forces. It's like standing armies. Canada's had a standing army for a long time. It's called the RCMP.
Well, that's the FBI of Canada.
Yeah. Well, the RCMP can basically
Do anything.
act as a federal force across
They
the whole
are.
country.
Not act, they are.
Yeah, yeah.
I got pulled over by RCMP in Abbotsford down the street from where I was fucking working at the warehouse and stuff like that. Basically got followed and pulled over just because they ran my plate. RCMP, they have every right to do whatever they want in any jurisdiction, anywhere in Canada. They are the FBI of Canada.
Yeah.
That's it.
Federal police force.
Yep.
But
They're a federal police force. They can go anywhere.
Yeah.
They usually just stay in the places that don't have other police forces that have.
They can do whatever
that
they want. They can go anywhere in the
jurisdiction.
country. They can arrest you. They can pull you out of your house. They can do whatever they want.
They can go outside.
I
of
was
their
sure police
jurisdiction.
can't drive into Vancouver and arrest somebody, and Vancouver police can't drive over to Abbotsford and arrest
The
somebody.
Toronto police can make a raid happen here, though.
But
apparently.
they
Yeah.
can use the Vancouver. They
Definitely.
can make it happen.
Local
but-
police forces do have some control over what happens with their
They have-
spending.
Totally. Well, yeah. They have
So
influence.
they can actually decide on what they want to spend money on, and that allows them to, sort of decide for themselves in local jurisdictions what to actually enforce. So, I think it's actually a good system in a lot of ways across Canada for some reasons, because local police forces can sort of act outside of what the federal government wants. But I don't think they can go too far, because ultimately the marching orders come from above. And,
Always.
and actually it's funny, the entire time that I've been working as an activist in this area, I've always tried to figure out exactly where the power lies when it comes to policing. And I'm not sure still where it actually is. Is it the
RCMP have all the power.
Yeah, the RCMP do, but
Yes. He's asking, who's got the pull.
Who's got the power?
but is it the
If
Prime
Trudeau,
Minister?
if the Prime Minister wants to have anything done, he uses the RCMP. That is his army.
They form task forces. And
But
things of that
he
nature,
forms
too,
task
in
force.
a-
But
in
it's
a
all
city.
produced through. It's a federal task force.
But for instance, in Vancouver, apparently the VPD didn't want to spend money enforcing the Toronto Police crazy wishes against us, things they wanted to do, and so the Vancouver Police said, no, we're not going to spend any money on going after the Emerys. You guys can do it yourself. So Toronto flew out all these police officers out here.
There was VPD here, though. There was lots of VPD.
There was
here,
VPD
though, my friend.
standing outside.
Yeah, as they allowed them to go through everything to try and
Yeah.
find a bunch of weed.
So
which is fine.
Yeah,
they were there.
they were there for sure, but they provided protection. But they weren't the ones inside doing everything.
Well, I don't know, when
That's
you have
what
like
we've been told,
multiple vans, like some sort of moving truck, multiple officers, enough officers that anytime one of them got emotional because they realized that what they were doing was wrong, they had another one ready there to go and replace them. I'd say there are still some resources being spent. If you ask me, that it might be
Oh,
a
of
lot
course.
less than they would do if they were to do the full raid, but those are still resources being spent. And it's disappointing that the VPD didn't tell the Toronto Police Department to go fuck themselves, because that's not what we do in Vancouver with cannabis.
I'm not sure they're
businesses.
allowed to say that.
Well,
They do have some control, but the influence is there, and
Yeah.
I think that it comes, like you said, Johnny, it comes from the very top. Right?
Yeah.
I think
mean,
Justin
if you
Trudeau
look at-
sends Bill Blair out. Bill Blair says, "You guys are going to do this," and then they have to do it.
And
then
then
they
we
use the
round it back
RCMP.
to round
Like
to
you
last
said.
night, and you have collusion between big business and the government, right?
Well, but
Oh, yeah.
that's what
And
runs our government. It's always been
absolutely.
corporate. We've been dealing with corporate. Corporate runs the world. There's no way you can get around it. Everything's in public companies with a Dow and this and that and everything. We all get involved with. We all chase the stock markets. All these companies gone public.
But this is directly.
We see how it is.
This is like
And that's what's happening.
corporations using the
Controlling your government?
politicians to go after their competition to make us illegal.
That's
It's
what
just, it
happened.
Oh,
sounds
wow,
like,
wow.
It sounds
You
like
just really-
so many other businesses and so many
I'm
other,
just like, and
in
like,
history, this has happened a lot of times.
that's
A
all we
lot
hear
of
about.
times.
I'm
And it
sorry.
happens
I'm
in
just
every
sitting here
industry,
listening to this, like,
guaranteed.
it's a corporate world. You deal with a corporation.
They're
you see
monopolists,
how things
corporate
are.
monopolists. Yeah. It's an oligopoly, they call it. And so,
So-
there are only a very few. Like, look at the communications industry. Look at who's allowed to actually
and
have
Canada
a business.
is like
Look at
one of
soil
the
and
worst
Like, I can start my own
countries for
telephone
that.
company. Yeah, I can't start my own telephone company. I started
Well, that's
my
the
own
whole thing.
TV
You take a
show.
look at the way things going.
And then
Look at
they
the
took away
Walmarts,
your
and the Canadian
computers.
Tires, and the Eatons, and the
they did.
Bays, and the 7-Elevens,
though.
and the Essos, and the gas stations. Come on, we all know the Pizza Huts and all the Joeys have gone all across Canada, all gone corporate, to the Earls, to the Milestones, to everything where you shop. You get the old mom and pa's, but
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
sorry.
It's true. Everything is like
Sometimes Johnny
is
sounds like
overregulated.
Boomhauer to me.
You know, it's interesting. My dad used to
like Harper
be a DJ, and they originally, everyone used to just DJ, and then Canada was like, okay, well, there's copyright laws, so they decided to make it a licensed thing, and it cost a lot of money, and most of the guys who were DJs were like high school or just starting in college and stuff. So they made the licenses like $5,000, but that was in the 80s, so it was like more than most of the guys doing
That's
it could
because they wanted
afford.
to pay all the artists for using
Yeah,
the
so it was
records.
basically so that when you had this license, you could play whatever songs that you got from, again,
What a
some sort of
scam.
licensed producer, and then there wasn't any copyright infringements. But they only released 5 licenses for all of Canada when they first did it.
Nah.
Yeah, my dad
There was
used to.
only
He was
5
getting.
DJs?
Yeah,
Wow.
legal DJs. My dad was getting death threats because they created such an exclusive market.
What? That's insane.
Yeah, so it's not even
Wow.
just cannabis.
But
It's
that's
like
just the way
whatever's
the
an
market
exclusive
works.
market. It's Canada has such
It's
restrictive
like, I'm an illegal
markets.
DJ. Dun, dun, dun. He's got a black cloak. He's like,
Yeah, he was getting
That's pretty
threatened to
dope.
sell his license and stuff like that. So
that
it was
sounds like it should be
crazy.
a graphic novel or something. Like the shadow DJs who
Well-
fight
Shadow
the,
DJs,
and it's
that
like
would be
they
a
fight the
great
mainstream
graphic
DJs
novel.
who are like, I'm the Monsanto DJ.
I can't wait
DJ
that I
Monsanto.
can walk down the street in the spring and look at people smiling as they're planting their weed, putting their plants out. And then as the summer progresses, we smell the different flavors. People out there chopping down their crops with machetes because we got these big trees because everybody's legally allowed to grow it. You know, I don't know. I'm just
Giant
fantasizing
marijuana
right
trees?
now. Giant marijuana trees.
You have to use
Big
machetes.
shrubs. Like, hey, Bill. Hey.
Imagine that, like, yeah.
You know, I mean,
where your neighbors
well,
are.
sooner or later we're gonna see something. We're gonna see a legalization market. They are gonna have to allow. If they legalize, they are gonna have to allow people to grow their own. That is part of the platform. They already know that. We already see that happening. So I mean, then it's gonna be per household, not per person, which is gonna be blah. We'll get around that. We'll fight in court. We'll win that. It'll be story. It'll be sad.
We're going to keep fighting in court.
And
and
we're gonna
win.
keep fighting, and we're gonna
But
keep
it's gonna-
smoking.
but-
We're gonna
okay.
keep doing what we do, and the best part about it is cannabis will prevail at the end, and it
But
will be
things
there.
are ramping up though right now. So I thought we were getting better, but it's not actually though, because it's starting to get worse right now.
If
They're
you
going
look at what's
crazy on people.
happening, you're seeing
this is
you're
more
seeing-
arrests than Stephen Harper did on marijuana people going after
Fuck, I
more
got arrested. I
dispensaries.
can't believe
Said
that.
Yeah,
it
Johnny
again
did
and
that shit.
again.
So-
It's they're breaking barrels
The
until
propaganda.
midnight, just like they did with alcohol prohibition. You know, when
Yep.
the alcohol prohibition was happening, they were putting out all sorts of propaganda, and they literally had police officers going and smashing barrels of the speakeasies until midnight. So I have a feeling same thing's going to be raided. Like, you know, they're going to be doing raids right until the very last day that
Restrict
you know
that
the
supply
regulations
chain.
get in that accept us. I have a feeling it's going to be the same thing. So I have a feeling
Yeah,
it's going to
they're like
actually
G-men.
get a little bit harder, but
Revenue
it's going to
men
give us
for
more of a
sure.
reason to fight back.
Yeah, they're like yo,
Revenue.
yo sauces, you gotta get it. No, these guys are like absolutely. it's exactly like we should do like it's Rex Bannon from The Simpsons. No, oh man, we got to play this video because it's Chief Saunders. He's the new guy. He's like the Elliot Ness.
Even just hearing his name gives me heebie-jeebies.
Yeah, whenever I watch the Untouchables, I'm always like, wait a second, Elliot Ness is the bad guy.
How long is this?
What's that?
I'm on the 9-minute 32-second countdown on the parking because parking right here is just atrocious since they shut down the parking
Oh,
lot
you
beside
and the
Cannabis
parking,
Culture.
Johnny.
You're doing the same mode, aren't you? How many tickets
I
have
got
you got?
3 hours on mine.
How do you get 3 hours at a regular parking?
I don't know. It just gave it to me.
I think he's lying.
No, I'm not.
I can't do
Would
that.
I tell a
got
lie?
the
I cannot tell a lie.
So, because of that, like, sorry and mistakes, and if you're playing a video and with the countdowns,
Word to Big Bird. Let's play the
Okay.
video though.
on that note,
Johnny, you can go
Good
do
dab.
parking and come back. Feed the meter.
yeah, probably gonna happen.
I hear a fuzz.
Yeah.
Oh, because of the thing? Okay, we'll play the video. Chief Saunders takes your questions on CP. Look at this reefer madness. This is crazy.
There it
Watch
is.
the explosions.
Let's go.
Well, Seth and Chief, here we are in outside Cannabis Culture in the city's East End. This marijuana dispensary was raided earlier today by Toronto police, the second time in recent months. I was here just a few months ago, the same thing. We're here with a local resident. He does not want to be named or identified, so you're not going to see his face. Sir, you have a question for the chief. We met you moments ago because you have some concerns. So I'm going to put the mic to you, ask the chief your question, and he's going to answer.
I was just wondering, in view of the soon legalization of marijuana, isn't this a waste of resources?
The raid.
The raid, indeed.
Okay, Chief, there you go.
Chief, I will say that this is this person is not alone in this question. As a matter of fact, Cannabis Culture is operated by Jody and Mark Emery, and Jody Emery tweeted today, Toronto police keep wasting valuable tax dollars raiding peaceful places that help save people's lives. Brute force intimidation. So we have the viewer question there, and now the tweets from Jody Emery.
Yeah, well, you know, I'll be very cautious when I speak towards Ms. Emery since she is pending charges right now. And to the person whose faces I know and who's asked that question, you have to understand that the law is the law. And as I've stated in the past, we are talking about health issues. We're talking about not having quality control, not knowing where the product is coming from, and the allegations with the charges against the Emerys, the substantial amount of contraband and the amount of money, you look at it and it has overtones of organized crime. So there's that aspect of it. And the other component, which I think is crucially important, we're talking about trafficking in shatter. Now, I've yet to see where shatter is for medicinal purposes. Shatter is for monetary gain. High risk, high reward. It's 7 times more the profit margin than just regular marijuana, and has highly explosive qualities to it.
Yeah, so for people who don't know what shatter is, as it's being made to look by everybody who tweets who go to the pot shops, they just think, we're just getting marijuana. You know, I have back pain, I'm just getting marijuana. But what you're saying is shatter is allegedly being sold at these locations.
Well, yes,
What is it exactly?
We're alleging that there's trafficking of shatter, and what we are saying is that it is highly explosive. We talk about 3,500 degrees Fahrenheit, talking about 3,400 pounds of pressure. If you're living next door to someone that's making shatter and not doing it properly, now you become a victim because of this explosion. Or if you've got children or family, or if you've got a business. On Eglinton last year, because of shatter, it blew up a building, and we've got shards of glass going at a high rate of speed. If people had been walking, it would have been a huge public safety concern. So the storyline about, oh, this is for the well-being of people, let's make it clear. We're not charging any users. We're talking about people that are taking advantage of a gap right now with the system, and they're using the leverage point of the sensitivity of people that are medically ill, when in fact it's for monetary gain. And so that's what the allegations are. They'll have their opportunity in their day in court to explain that it's different than that. But I've yet to see any country that is saying shatter is legal.
So what kind of money is being made by people operating such kinds of dispensaries?
Well, it's alleged that they're making hundreds of thousands of dollars. This is a business.
And this is not that's not a year. That's a week, or that's a month, or.
Well, I don't know what the numbers are, but I know the numbers are staggering with respect to the profit margin. And so if we've cut into that profit margin of people that are dealing in drugs that are legal as the day is right now, then and like I said, the quality, we already know that there's no quality control. So we talk about pesticides and bacteria and mold, all kinds of things that people, rat feces, people are ingesting. So this is not a story that really seems to fit the real narrative.
Right. Okay, we've got another viewer question about this. Over to Sandy Benitez, V24.com. Sandy.
Hi, we've got a tweet from Online Present, and this is what he wants to know. Why are you focusing so much on initiatives like Project Gator when there's a clear-cut fentanyl crisis and deaths?
Well, first off, let's be very clear that because we're focused on one, it's not that we're not focused on the other. We're focused on everything. And yes, there is a fentanyl issue right across Canada. Out west, it's in epidemic proportions. It's not here at that same intensity level. But we are conducting investigations. We are making apprehensions when it deals with fentanyl. And that is a growing concern that we have. So we're actively investigating.
Going back to the cannabis culture and the Emerys, they keep getting raided. We've got, how many times now? At least twice in the past month. They keep reopening. Are you going to keep raiding them, and as long as they reopen?
Well, I'm not going to tip my cards. I'm going to say that if you are involved in criminal activity for the day, then you are putting yourself at risk for being charged.
And these are pictures of today's raid. Chief, why is it so hard for people, do you think, to understand that while the legislation might be coming, and it's been delayed when it comes to marijuana, they can't get past the fact that this stuff that's being sold allegedly in these dispensaries is illegal and unhealthy? Why, that message doesn't seem to be getting through.
No, the focus is on it's going to be legalized soon. I haven't been given that information yet. I know that the government is working very hard. They know the devil is in the details. They've looked at other states and other places where it has been legalized. They've seen the concerns and issues. They're trying to make it the best regulatory process that they possibly can. Once you ring that bell, you can't unring it. So they want to get it right. It's better to take time, get it right, than to just throw it out there because of the sense of urgency. And there is no sense of urgency to this. And the average marijuana prescription is something like 0.70 grams. So this nonsense of people going in and saying, give me the strongest stuff you got, the THC content is not necessarily what the medicinal value is for a lot of these people. So, it's a story about making money.
Any final message for the Emerys?
No, they have their day to present themselves in court and to articulate their side of the story.
Okay, Chief, thank you. We're going to take a quick break, and when we return, Chief Saunders is going to take more of your questions, and we'll cover more topics for you. We'll be right back.
Jeez. So this guy, yeah.
We're run by.
You like those
enforcement
explosions?
And they force us to do all kinds of things like the
Should all do really
enforcement
big
and
dabs.
law
Missing was
of
the
my
Wilhelm
parking meter.
scream.
I mean,
Exploding
enforced and law.
shatter.
And you know what? Peace and pot, guys. As always, thank you very much. I love coming down here and talking to you. Sorry I missed. I know Neil's sitting on the couch. He's going to jump in here. You guys are going to have a fantastic weekend. We're going to see you all in Edmonton again. I'll be out there next weekend, of course. Maybe I'll talk to you on Friday next week before I head back to Edmonton.
Talk to the microphone, John.
The Lyft event that we're having in Edmonton. So, of course, I have to go back. This time I'll be carrying a copy of my license and all my luggage on my person. I might even just carry it in front of me. Hand it to him. Say, here, I just want to let you know I might have some hash on me.
Oh, yeah. Be in big trouble.
Anyways, guys, thanks.
Peace, Johnny. So,
Are you taking the chair with you? So you
No, I'm not.
I can't believe, though, the reefer madness of Chief Saunders. It's really crazy. I haven't seen it this thick in a hell of a long time. It's just so crazy. The stuff he's saying, rat feces in
They had to act.
weed.
They had to act because there's rat
Rat
feces in that
feces.
weed, man.
Yeah.
We get complaints about that at Cannabis Culture all the time
We
with
should,
the rat
I
feces
know.
in the weed, eh?
I want to get a T-shirt that says Cannabis Culture logo that says Rat Feces Kush underneath it.
It's,
One of the locations sold OG Gator the day after they opened up.
OG Gator, yeah.
OG Gator.
By the way, I've never heard of them ever claiming that there's been rat feces in any, let alone Cannabis Culture's weed, anybody's weed. Has that ever been a?
Never heard of that.
Never heard of that.
Not
Where did
even.
did he
Alternative
just,
facts,
Did he
man.
just pull that out of his ass?
We
right
live in
there?
the
Did he
era
just
of
make it up?
alternative facts.
He laughed when he said it.
He's a
Maybe
cop.
was
You know, he
just,
probably bought
making it
some
up.
weed that had some rat feces in it. That's probably
Yeah.
what it is, because cops probably get sold weed with rat feces in it regularly.
Wow.
You know, and he also talked about, we got to take our time and get it right. There's no urgency here. There's a fucking urgency to stop arresting people and wasting our tax dollars immediately. That's the urgency on this and what needs to happen. He said that, you don't want to get locked into regulations that aren't the right ones right off the bat because you can't go back and change them. What an idiot. Of course you can change regulations if you don't
This is
get it
somebody
right.
who's
He said,
enforcing the
he
law
said
and
once
he
you ring
doesn't
that bell,
understand
you
it.
can't unring it.
Oh, he's a fucking moron.
There's something
I mean,
to that, but
in a society, we're trying something new here. We're going to have legalized weed instead of prohibited weed, and there's going to be some challenges with that. And as we figure out how to do that, things might arise. Well, we're not locked into whatever you decide off the bat, buddy. We can change regulations if we need to, but it's not a public safety issue at all. This is all such crap. They are not busting Mark and Jody
But
and
shatter
shutting down
explodes,
dispensaries.
Neil, be
Yeah, I know it's
careful.
explosive, eh? I used to say
know,
that.
did you
I
notice
used to
that they
say they're
didn't-
regulating it like it's
they
some
didn't
sort
really
of contagious
differentiate.
explosive substance. And
didn't
now they're
really-
saying it's explosive.
They didn't really explain that it's the production of shatter that's the thing that's explosive.
If it's not
They
done
kinda-
right.
They kind of talked. They kind of were just more if you walk by the dispensary, watch out. It's
Yeah.
boom, the front windows are exploding out of the dispensary. I know.
He did
All of
say,
our-
if it's not
only-
done right.
Only 10 of our locations have
and
exploded.
that's the thing. It's not done right when you have a prohibition world. Otherwise, in the real world, people are doing it right. They're buying kits from the local hardware store and doing it right. So it's just outrageous.
Such bullshit.
This guy's a criminal. He should be arrested. I think
It is
the BPD
true that
should be
people-
investigating the Toronto police.
People do sometimes blow themselves up when they're making shatter.
Yeah.
Right, but it doesn't. There's,
Because
it's
they're
not
not doing it under
it's not
controlled
like there's
circumstances
been
properly.
a heck of a lot of, big huge cases or deaths or anything.
But
People
that's
blow
because
themselves up lighting their barbecues.
yeah,
too.
it's
Right,
because
exactly.
it's
Yeah.
a
Putting gas in
prohibited
their car.
thing. So
Exactly.
they use these big systems that have explosive, fuels and stuff that they're using to extract with. And because they're scared of getting caught, they put it inside in some small spot instead of in a well-ventilated area.
Right, it's because of prohibition.
It's because of prohibition.
If you could go to a facility where you can do that kind of thing,
I'm saying,
rent
imagine
out
if
space.
barbecues were illegal, people would still be barbecuing. They just would be scared to do it where the cops were going to smell it. And there would be all sorts of explosions.
If it was legal, you could have an extract center where you provide space for people to come in and use in a safe space where they can do their, washing or whatever.
With classes from people maybe who studied chemistry to help you know how to do so safely.
Yeah. It's like a U extract. Like a U brew.
No, the real problem here, the cause of harm in our society is these policies, and they need to stop them immediately. There's a real sense of urgency to do that. That is for sure. I don't know what to say. I mean, I didn't think we'd still be here like this. Like you say, we sort of feel like we're winning, but then we realize, well, maybe we're not winning at all with all the arrests going on, the money's still being wasted.
Oh, I think they're cracking down harder than they ever have.
This is way more arrests than under the Harper government.
This is the hardest crackdown since the 1980s, essentially, in Canada.
And I want to see one victim. I want one person, We need police when somebody's being harmed. There's some guy in the neighborhood that's gone crazy and there's kids being harmed and what have you. We need to get the police there to find that person and stop that. That's why we have police. We don't have police to tell adults that they can't make choices about what they're going to consume. In a world where you can buy pesticides and gasoline and all sorts of other harmful things. We're adults, so we can deal with this stuff. Regulations are fine. Tell us the truth. That's all regulations almost always are, is just the advice about the substance. Warnings, use this in this fashion or that fashion. That's
and I keep coming back to coffee. Coffee is similar amount of, not even, caffeine's way more harmful than cannabis. And there's no education out there. And that is a substance that causes huge changes to the developing mind. It causes crazy changes in your hormones, whether or not you're going through like puberty. But if you drink caffeine when you're going through puberty, which is like, I don't know, basically everyone who's trying to survive high school, it seriously alters your brain. It can cause growth development, stunt your height. There's so many things. And never once, when I was way over consuming caffeine as a young adult and teenager, did they go, just so you know, that's not a good idea.
You should have the camera on.
If you're a regular user of caffeine, there's all kinds of actual physical withdrawal that happens as a result of that.
We got some dancing going on in the Cannabis Culture Lounge here at 307 West Hastings Street in Vancouver. Come down and dance.
And how many people do you know that drink coffee that'll tell you, don't even talk to me till I have my coffee in the morning, right? Yeah. Can't go to work without my coffee in the morning. So coffee is definitely a substance. There should be some education around it. When at the point of purchase, you should have some little warnings about, by the way, you can become dependent on this. There could be physical withdrawals.
Coffee's damn dependent.
When have you ever
choke a motherfucker if I don't get my coffee.
When have you ever been
headache's
warned
not too bad by
at
that
a
time,
grocery
right?
store or at a coffee bar, anywhere? When have you ever been told that it's an addictive substance? We all know it, but nowhere are we actually warned about it. It's one of the most addictive substances.
I have withdrawal symptoms at 4 p.m. every day if I don't have coffee. For
real.
How
much money Tim Horton makes off that shit?
Throbbing.
Me
Where's
too.
my coffee?
I went through wicked withdrawals when I quit caffeine, and it was one of the best things that I ever did. And yeah, I still
quit.
Yeah.
What are you talking about? You don't drink coffee?
No. I do not drink coffee. It makes me way too anxious. My sleep's back to normal. I'm like don't panic as much. I'm not as shaky. I feel so much healthier. I do yoga and I get the same buzz that I used to from coffee, and I don't crash throughout the day.
What's that stuff you've both been drinking?
Decaffeinated tea. Oh, that's sometimes too. Usually not in the morning though.
I'm having a coffee for breakfast. You're having a Caesar.
I drank coffee as a teenager. By the time I was 19, I had quit drinking coffee. In my early 20s, I realized I really loved the smell of it, and should I start drinking it again?
Yeah.
And I looked around the guys on the job site and in the office, and they were like, don't even talk to me if I haven't had my coffee in the morning. I can't go to work without my coffee. And I thought, I don't want that kind of an addictive substance in my life, so I chose not to drink it, even though I do love the smell of it.
It smells and tastes amazing, but I started drinking my decaffeinated tea. Recently, when I've had decaf coffee, I still get the placebo, and I'm like, we had a staff meeting, and we were all here early, and the coffee smelled so good, and I didn't have anything warm to drink, so I had like that much coffee, and I was like this for hours, and then I fell asleep on the couch. Yeah, I do a little bit of sugar.
You put sugar in your coffee, Neil?
Yeah, I don't have coffee.
Or I mean, sugar in your tea.
I used to.
I do have a bit of sugar in my tea, and I'm a sugar addict. I've tried to fight that addiction. I've come a long way since I decided to fight it back in my late 40s. But by that time, pretty heavily entrenched for sure. We're all sugar addicts.
Sugar crackheads.
Sure.
They prey on us for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Put that shit in your tea.
Yeah, they put that shit in everything.
I just
Maple
put a
syrup.
swig of antifreeze in my coffee.
Maple syrup is an extract. It gets made all the time. Nobody blows themselves up.
Maple
Yeah.
It's in a
syrup?
legal, regulated market.
You're
From a natural
so right.
source.
And you know what? I used to go to the Sugar Bush, that well-known one down in Quebec, all the
Bush.
time when I was a kid. And you're right, completely safe. There's no issues whatsoever.
No.
You know what is a big issue that really came out during the Allard case was that the main reason for fires in homes is kitchens. But the vast majority of fires are caused by grease fires in kitchens. Yet there's no move to ban kitchens from homes. We probably wouldn't need fire departments if we didn't have kitchens in homes. There'd be so few fires going on. But there's no talk about banning kitchens. Mold comes from bathrooms. No talk of banning bathrooms.
Yeah, one of the room that people get injured in the most is the bathroom because they slip on the wet floor and stuff. There's all sorts of sharp implements. We gotta ban bathrooms. They're way too dangerous.
That's
and
true.
yet they want to ban growing cannabis. You can grow all kinds of other plants in your house. You can put a garden in of any sort that you want in there, and almost all those plants you can die of overdoses on, or they're poisonous if you even eat them at all.
Ban them.
But no talk about any of that stuff.
They should ban them.
When it comes to plant limits, the only plant limit that you should have on cannabis that would make any sense is that you need to have a minimum 5 or 6 plants. Everybody should have a minimum amount of cannabis plants in their home because it's a healthy, smart thing to do for so many reasons.
They should arrest people for not having cannabis plants.
Well, back in the war, in the Second World War, when they kind of outlawed cannabis by putting prohibitory taxes on it and made it so farmers couldn't grow it anymore. And that was in 1937. By 1942, during the war effort, now they need cannabis for all of its industrial purposes. They don't have enough of it.
Hemp for victory.
Hemp for victory. And part of what Hemp for Victory was is that all the children that were part of the 4-H clubs, they all had to grow a minimum of 12 plants each.
The children.
So the children.
Slave labor.
Well,
child labor.
It was a positive thing. They needed more hemp. They needed to have shoes and uniforms and rigging for the boats and all the other things that they were using hemp for.
Mm-hmm.
So, it was just for the war effort the right thing to do. I don't know if we need to have every household growing a minimum number of cannabis plants, but it would make a fuck of a lot more sense than telling people that they can only grow a certain amount of a plant that is the most valuable plant that you could have of all. That would make way more sense to me if there was a minimum plant count that you had to have as opposed to a maximum amount. Yeah, you should be able to grow as much of that as you want. The more we have, the better off our world is. There's nobody being harmed by this.
I would be interested to see, Toronto would be a really good city to do this with, but any city where they have really strict cannabis regulations, to see how many poisonous plants there are planted in city sanctioned gardens and parks and stuff. Because there's tons. Oh my God, there's so many poison plants in every park.
What about all those bushes everywhere? The berries that you've always been told never eat the
red
berries.
ones?
Those grow willy nilly. I don't know what
Kids
happens
get
to you.
poisoned on those all the time.
Those little white ones, they look like candy.
Yeah.
Kids in British Columbia, all around the world,
ban
them. Are getting poisoned. Ban them. Well, you sure shouldn't be allowed to grow it. That's for sure.
Well, if you're not allowed to grow something that's harmless, then why are you allowed to grow something that's harmful?
And I want to know who it is that lets you be allowed to grow anything. We don't have bosses in this world.
Probably the Parks Board, just like the same people who said that
they were
pot smokers
ordained and they had
allowed.
proven that their blood was blue, and they said no more cabbage. Well, even that would be fucking wrong. Nobody gets to tell another adult human being what you can do with the ground that you're living on. Nobody owns you. Nobody owns the plants on the planet. So this is all just examples of how wrong our system is and how not free we are. This is a dumb-ocracy, and we're just really free to obey.
You can patent it now, Neil.
What are we patenting now? Cabbage?
You can, blue cabbage.
Yeah. There'd be all kinds of underground new strains of cabbage if they did that. Can you imagine? There'd be cabbage extracts. If they did that, that's absolutely what would happen. There'd be a huge explosion of new cabbage products, available on the underground market. It would become the thing. Kids would grow up just dreaming of being able to get their hands on some cabbage.
Cabbage clear.
Because it's like Carly said earlier is so true. It doesn't matter what you prohibit. It will cause that to be a big, huge problem. And we'll have all these other things resulting from that. There's costs and consequences to people trying to prohibit other people from doing things. And it's just inherently wrong in the first place. Like, people shouldn't be forced to do what they don't want to do or kept from doing what they want to do.
But you can make
unless they're harming somebody else.
But you can make an industry out of it that feeds all these police officers and their families, and also the families of the people who run
Why
the
don't they get
prisons.
a job in the hemp industry?
Giant corporations tied to the current government regime that are going to make billions
we
off
got,
it.
We got liberals
we got former premiers involved. We got all on the liberal
we got
ticket.
former police officers and liberals to feed.
Absolutely.
Well, and the CEOs of these companies.
Check out the list
no
online
doubt,
that's circulating of liberals and former police officers in charge of LP companies.
We should post that on Cannabis Culture.
Yeah, we
maybe.
will post that.
Maybe we'll do a little video.
Mr. Ernie Evans,
and how much money these CEOs of these LPs are making, right?
How
much money the CEOs of these LPs are making. Because they're making a huge amount of money. There's a lot of profit in this. The veterans that get to use cannabis, they're all getting it through these LPs. That's a huge contract, millions of dollars.
The money's in going on the stock market and having this bubble. That,
but when you look at how much money they're paying their people, all that money is coming from patients. Like, they're only a medical program. So all the money that they're making, like these excessive amounts of money, are coming off the backs of patients. This stuff should be subsidized by our government. People should be able to grow their own en masse. We wouldn't need to spend so much on pharmaceuticals. We wouldn't have so many sick people, and we certainly wouldn't be wasting all this money on law enforcement. Our economy would be much better. The cops that are going to be out of work as a result of this can find other jobs, probably working in some sort of cannabis marketing, or, there's so many different spin-offs of what cannabis could be used for. It will be in the future. It will be in everything. Already it's in the cars that we're driving. It should be the fuel that they're using. It will be in all of these different products, and there's so many jobs in that. But if we weren't wasting all the money that we are on prohibition, and if we weren't ruining people's lives the way that we are with criminalization and stuff, our economy would be so much better. We could grow our way out of just about any situation that we're in. Right now, it's on the market on the street for a gram of smokable good cannabis, either in a dispensary or on the street, about $10 a gram. Way huge inflated. You don't pay $10 a gram for any other fruit, vegetable, or thing like that in the grocery store. It's more like a buck or $2 or $3 a pound, and that's more like what it should be. And if so much more cannabis was grown and the price came way down and it was available for all these other industrial things as well as for our medicine and our food and all that, and we weren't wasting all this money, those cops wouldn't even need to get jobs. And they could just follow their dreams, and we'd all just be following our dreams. Maybe work.
They should just
a
grow
20-hour
weed
week or something like that. It's something we really like
cops
doing.
Should just start growing weed instead.
That's what they're doing.
Just quit the force and grow weed.
There are cops growing weed, and
but
they'll sell it to us too.
From us.
Yeah,
exactly.
Now they want that $10 a gram.
Yeah. 12 next time.
12. Yeah.
Yeah, no.
HST
Maybe one day we'll have
latest
cheap
thing.
grams, but I'm not convinced that anybody will lower the price of their grams, except maybe us. Like, maybe other people will. I guess it
depends on what happens, Jeremiah. In my opinion, if we get the ability to grow for ourselves as recreational users, so that everybody's cool to have plants, then I think the price has to come down. There will still obviously be great cannabis available at places. It'll be connoisseur type cannabis. But
Danny's saying no.
You know what? I feel like
connoisseur weed is always going to be expensive.
Connoisseur weed's always
There's a market for it.
Yeah.
People want to pay.
Yeah. But if the market's controlled by someone, especially if it's someone big and overarching, it's going to drive the price up. It's just like oil, just like all sorts of other things.
They'll drive the price of legal weed up, and they will also drive the price of the underground weed up in the process. So, yeah,
Definitely.
you're right.
They're not going to drop it.
I'm starting to agree with Ayn Rand when I think about certain things, like Atlas Shrugged. Have you guys ever read that?
No, but I'm familiar with some of the text.
Yeah, it's like it's a bizarre thing about how regulations stifle business. It's like a right-wing sort of, nightmare dystopian future.
Absolutely.
By paranoid right-wingers, but
it's market control.
That's
it's the movement towards Soylent Green, where they're all,
but
government weed, Soylent Green.
Yeah, no, it's really the government being this nanny state that eventually it says, oh, well, when something becomes like a public service or a danger, then they have to be in charge of it. And the example in the book is like they're building railroads, and then the government eventually takes it over and says and nationalizes it, and of course takes it away from the people that built it.
Back to the chief there, his discussion earlier. I mean, he was saying that these are people. These aren't users that they're going after. These are people that have taken advantage of a gap in the market and the law. Like that's a positive thing. To take an advantage of a gap in the market is a positive thing, and they've seen that, and they've seen that there's this immense amount of money to be made, and they've grabbed it.
That's a blatant lie, because they've actually sat outside of our Cannabis Culture dispensary. There was one time when they sat outside the Toronto Police Department. They were outside and they were like bothering customers when they came out.
What does that got to do with anything?
Well, he appeared to go out and say that they're only
They're not going
bothering,
after
they're not
users.
going after users. That's a blatant lie. They
Well,
absolutely
it's bust
are,
up
and they
Project
have been.
Gator wasn't about users.
Project
but
Gator
trust me,
wasn't
there's
about
lots of
users.
users
There's
getting
There's
hassled
being
by police.
users being hassled constantly.
Speaking, I mean, Project Gator, they did not raid a dispensary in the city of Vancouver. In Project Gator, they raided a glass shop that sells T-shirts and does fashion and things of this nature, and then, and a lounge where people where people congregate. These are open spaces that they took.
Where you see
And
people doing this kind of stuff.
not only that,
going
if you
online,
think about it from a sense that they collect, they collect an HST tax from and from what I understand, cannabis culture pays quite a bit in HST.
Yeah, we do.
And they accept that money from a place that they then raid for doing the business that they're accepting tax dollars from.
Yeah.
How is that in any way
They're
an
making us
appropriate
pay
structure?
for the raid.
Exactly.
Yeah.
$30,000 a pop to raid a dispensary.
Yeah. No. Revenue Canada gets all that or whoever, and they spend it. I'm sure they have their own things that they do with it.
Yeah, we're dealing with gangs and we're dealing with organized crime, but it's all our politicians and the corporate bastards that they represent that are the gangs that we're up against.
Yeah, it kind of seems like they're a big gang.
They are a very big
They are a
gang.
pretty big gang.
Yeah, they act like it. They think they're above ethics and above the law. They can just go on with impunity with what they do. There's such things as abuse of power, contempt of the populace, criminal misuse of public funds. These are real things, except that they don't get brought forward in our society at all because it's not in the interests of the people that would bring it forward because they're the ones that are going to be also taken to task with it all.
How about Justin Trudeau going after his non-violent political opponents and putting them in front of a possible life sentence? That's his political opposition. He's threatening to jail his political opposition for life.
Well, I mean, his father did run tanks down the streets of Montreal at one point, so it's not overly surprising.
These guys are fucking crazy.
Yeah, they're very
man.
corrupt.
Wow.
I'm so ashamed that I got fooled into thinking it was anything else.
Yeah. How could it's just bizarre because Jody is a huge critic of Justin Trudeau, and he of course knows that Jody and Mark are the loudest activists, and that's the ones that this is who they're going after to make an example of. That's some crazy stuff that they can use the law to go after people.
I mean, he might say that he didn't have anything to do with it and he didn't know, but it's up to him to know, and it's up to him to stop anything like that was going ahead because
There's
this
no
isn't right. If the RCMP are acting on their own,
we're not
then they're
hurting
out of
anyone.
line. So, I mean, he's responsible. He's complicit any way you look at it.
We're not hurting anyone. No, he sent Bill Blair around to do this.
Absolutely. It's not about justice. It's about money, though. That's
Yeah.
what it's, at this point,
It is.
all it's about.
Protecting
No,
money.
it's all
That's
about
it.
money.
Always
it's about
about
monopolizing this industry.
You know what my favorite is whenever he posts his little Facebook post that's like, we need to legalize cannabis. Click here to support the Liberal Party so we can
Click here
keep
to donate for the
the money
Liberal
out
Party.
of the money out of the hands of criminals and protect the children. And you click on the comments and he just gets torn apart, and it's amazing. Everyone's like, the only reason they're criminals is because you're still making it illegal. That literally doesn't even make any sense.
The only law that's
Like,
being broken is the prohibition itself.
yeah, and
everything
they're like,
else is
protect the kids how? By no
Hollywash.
longer arresting their parents for a harmless
Well, I mean,
plant?
they've done
Like,
such
duh.
a good job of keeping the weed out of schools. I mean, it's like
I know.
the weed
Can't
is
get- I
the
could
weed is
never
in
get
your
weed
high
at
schools
school.
already.
Yeah, I like what Russell Barth said. He said, they couldn't keep it out of the hands of kids with a criminal prohibition. They think they're going to do it with regulations and a legal market. Like, who are they trying to kid?
Absolutely, they're going to. That's the only way to do it is to structure it that sense.
They'll have a better
But
chance
they
of
don't
it.
need to. It's not.
We got the Weed King in the chat. Freddie Pritchard's there.
Freddie.
What's up, Freddie?
Freddie.
What's going on, man? Yeah, I think that we have a lot of fighting left to do. Freddie's been one of the ones who kind of knew that this was coming. He's been predicting this from the beginning. We were like, give it a chance. But Freddie's like, no, they're going to monopolize it. And he was right 100% of the time.
We were just trying to think positively and hope that it would have the, you think about an outcome enough and you visualize it and then hopefully it comes true. But apparently Trudeau just completely lied about, having the same visualization for legalization that we did, which was what he ran his platform with.
It's another instance of government simply acting as agent of big business.
Yeah. No, I never disagreed with Freddie.
And then law enforcement
said
being
they never
used to
stopped fighting
rein in
that.
those who don't comply.
Yeah.
It's happened many times in history. It's a classic tactic of tyranny.
Yeah. It's what they were bound to do. I mean, they've got this monopoly going on with prohibition. They don't want to let that go. They got all these mechanisms of making their money going on, and they don't want to lose all of that. They were bound to try to monopolize, and they are trying to monopolize, and they're doing horrible things as a result, and that's what Freddie was talking about, and he was absolutely right. And like I said, I never disagreed with you, Freddie. I just said we'll never stop fighting that, and we're never going to accept that, and we're not about to roll over and just say, oh, okay, now we got legal weed through LPs, so let's stop fighting. Our fight isn't over till everybody can grow for themselves as much as they need and more. And I won't stop fighting until I get that. I know I speak for a lot of people in that.
You know what somebody needs to tally is the amount of countries that have proposed and then implemented legalization in the amount of time that Trudeau has just been talking about legalization. Because there's been multiple, medical or recreational. Germany just did medicinal marijuana is now legalized.
They need to decriminalize.
Israel, recreational is legalized.
I like that.
And that all happened. Israel talked about legalizing and legalized within like a few months. And as soon as they decided they were going to legalize, they decriminalized. So
your sign that you made for the Anne McClellan thing last night, your protest sign, it said legalize the existing market. I like that.
Yeah.
That's what needs to happen. Legalize the existing market. Tell Anne McClellan.
Some reasonable
legalize the existing market.
It'll be fine.
All right. Well, we're going to wrap this up.
You need another bong rip.
I want to say, good people break bad laws, and we've been doing that for a long time. We've been preaching that for a long time, and I just want you to think about what that says about those people that are behind those bad laws and those people that enforce those bad laws. I think the police in Canada should step down at this point. They should stop enforcing the law. It's just immoral to keep doing this.
Yeah.
They're not protecting any other Canadians in this.
I wish that Justin Trudeau would do what he said he was going to do instead of turning on us. He campaigned on legalizing marijuana for dispensaries as well. He went to Winnipeg, went to a dispensary that was being targeted by the police that was being raided, and he said, this is wrong. It shouldn't be raided. This should be allowed. When I'm elected, this is going to happen. And guess what? When he gets elected, he goes after the same thing, does the exact same thing that he was criticizing. So he lied to us all.
Whenever you see hypocrisy like that, look for corruption.
This guy's a big liar.
He's using, I believe he's using cannabis as sort of his ace in the hole, right? Like at this point, he's not gone through with so many things he promised during the election, whether it's electoral reform, tax breaks for the middle class. Recent budget was a shamble. So it's like he's just trying to suppress the market so he can use it for his big business interests, and then a couple months before the election he'll legalize with strict and total control, and that's when they'll be ready for it to happen. But it's also when they use it as a ploy to get elected again. But every other promise on the way up has been completely obliterated.
I think they know that they don't have the capacity to meet the needs of a recreational market in Canada, that the demand is so high. So that's their big fear, that they can't legalize yet, because like you say, they're waiting until they've got everything in place before they do that. But that's going to be very difficult to do, to get everything in place. Like you said before, they can't even satisfy the medical market with the licensed producers that they have. They need to have thousands of people licensed to produce. That should be a fairly cheap and easy thing to obtain. And then maybe we can meet the needs of the recreational market.
What's their biggest fear?
Well, that they can't meet the need themselves,
right.
That they're not going to be able to monopolize the sales, that they're going to have to allow for other sales besides those people that are their friends.
You know what my biggest fear is? Electric octopus.
Electric octopus. Like a robot electric octopus?
Robotic electric octopus? That was pretty scary.
Because that kind of, my bigger fear too are that, how long I'm on this trajectory. Am I going to live out my life before technology takes us all over and either makes us slaves or kills us, or...
I'm terrified of
Terminator
beavers.
2 rules. It was supposed to be 97.
Terminator 2 what?
Terminator 2 rules. It was supposed to happen in 97. So we're 20 years.
Right. They subverted Sarah Connor, and John somehow subverted the apocalypse.
Absolutely.
Right? So with the help of T-100.
I just don't think there's any way to avoid
And
technology
learning
gaining
computer.
consciousness and taking
a
over
learning
eventually.
computer. Yeah. Yeah.
We've gone too far.
He was such a softie in that one.
Oh, he was.
I loved him. I felt shed a tear when he gave the peace sign as he was going down, didn't he? Or he gave a thumbs up.
Thumbs up.
Yeah, that was good. Good old Arnie, the Governator. Yeah.
You still haven't worn your Arnold is numero uno.
Carly got me a T-shirt for Christmas. I think was it Christmas?
Yeah.
It says Arnold is numero uno on it. And it's the same T-shirt that Arnold was wearing in the video where he's smoking weed. And he's laying back. He's like, And he's got his Arnold as numero uno shirt on.
And a plate of chicken wings on his belly and a glass of white wine in his hand.
Yeah, and Arnold was always a big advocate of marijuana, and while he was in California, let some of the largest expansion of marijuana dispensaries happen. I think that's true, isn't it?
Yeah, he still talks about it.
He loves weed. Yeah, Ani.
And we love Ani.
We went off on a tangent there.
So I don't know if I've been on your show since they canceled my court case or postponed it.
Oh yeah, so I
let's
don't
go
know.
to February.
Tell us about that, Neil.
My lawyer was sick, so this one's on our side. But it'll be 31 months before this thing goes to court from that horrible raid on our rally and our protest at the art gallery in 2015. So because of that, had to put it off, and it's put off until February 13th, 2018.
How's that? How's Rob doing?
I think Rob's getting over his lung infection, but I haven't seen him yet, and I haven't talked to him for a couple of days. But he did say he was feeling a little bit better. But he was really sick. That is true. But still, just outrageous. And now the prosecutor is going to hand the file over to someone else to look after. So some other prosecutor is going to have to spend public money and time reviewing the file and deciding whether to go ahead with it. And
you're very expensive, Neil.
They set aside 5 days for the trial.
5
days, yeah. So I can't explain it. I'm outraged as a citizen that pays taxes. I'm just outraged. There's no benefit to the public in this at all.
5 days for that? What happened at the art gallery?
Yeah, I mean that's the
It's like
type
they
of
think
trial
you're
you would
a
have for a
serial killer.
murder, a killer's trial or something like that. And all I was doing was purposely breaking bad laws to protest them in a harmless way, a civil disobedient, harmless way.
They claimed you were selling to minors.
Celebration.
An annual celebration. We'd had the support of the city and the police on for all the years that I'd been going there, 18 years that I'd been going there before that.
Would you like a bong rip?
No, I had a dab, and that's pretty good. The
Okay.
last bong rip you gave me pretty much knocked me out last week, so I think I'll...
That's my job.
Yeah, gotta know,
All right.
know your limits, stay within it, sort of thing.
Do a public freakout video. What does that mean? That's what it says on the chat. Throw a fit, Neil. Do a public public freakout video. Oh, that's good. That's
all I'm doing.
Watch the live stream of Cannabis Culture 307
right
West Hastings getting raided. So that's good. He's getting pretty ragey in public.
Yeah, I get a little ragey when the cops are blocking the door to Cannabis Culture and people are being arrested. I get a little ragey then. I can't
Ragey?
keep my mouth shut at that point.
You climb the building like Donkey Kong?
No, I just yell at them as best I can do, You can't hit them because they'll take you away, and then you can't do anything. So just if you want to have any effect at all, you have to keep on this side of that line, yell and scream at them, but don't touch them.
Well, yeah, that's productive.
Oh man,
yes,
I did. Yeah,
I'm
just horrible.
Very high now. Okay, so I'm gonna wrap the show up. Did everybody get their bong tokes in? Did you have a bong toke, Danny? Did Boss Lissa have a bong toke?
though. First one, just
all right. Well, thanks to everybody out there in Pod TV land for watching this Friday. It's 6 o'clock here in the beautiful city of Vancouver. So there's lots of crazy stuff going on with Cannabis Culture, but keep watching our shows on Pod TV, and we'll keep you informed of everything. You can go to cannabisculture.com. Lots of cool stuff in the works. Pardon me. And we still have our dispensaries. Some of them are closing at the moment or having trouble.
So they can hire new staff.
Right, hire new staff. But yeah, I'm not sure what's going to happen in Toronto. It seems like the cops are really making our lives hell at Cannabis Culture specifically. And we might have to take some measures to try to protect ourselves and our staff people.
But not by quitting the fight, not by going away.
No.
This is, if anything, it just motivates us more, and it motivates a bunch of other people. I've had so many people come and talk to me and say, I've been hiding in the closet for a while, and now I'm pissed, and I'm going to do something about this. So it's going to backfire on them big time, and that's what needs to happen. I guess it has to get worse sometimes before it gets better.
It's true.
They are exposing themselves for what they're doing, and in a world fueled by alcohol, with thousands of recreational alcohol dispensaries all over the place, and the government profiting on alcohol, and with commercial cigarettes killing millions of people every year and being available in grocery stores and gas stations all over the place, we will win out. The science will win out. They can't keep doing this for long. So.
Well, I sure hope so.
Yeah,
but we're going to keep fighting.
We need help.
And you can watch all of our fight on pod.tv and cannabisculture.com. And yeah, you can see our live shows right here on pod.tv 4 times a week, Monday, 4 p.m., This Girls Show, 420 Lifestyle, Carly Marley, Wednesday, Marijuana Man and Friends. Oh, yes.
My co-host too.
I always forget.
It's okay. It's because she's new, but
Yes.
you'll remember soon.
Yes. Yes.
Me
BC Bug
and BC Bad Gal.
BC Bug Gal, also, of course. And yes, Marijuana Man and Friends. Is that okay? Can I say and Friends? Do I have to list them all?
I'd say
and
for
co-host.
Greg's show and Friends works
Ms.
because
Kushwin
sometimes
and
it's
Al.
Kush Queen and sometimes it's Al and sometimes it's both. So
That's right.
And then Craig's show on Thursday.
That's right. 420, or wait, yeah. What's this show called again?
Expert
That's what
Joints.
it's called. 420 Expert Choice. Oh, hi. And then you can watch us right here at 4 p.m. on Fridays. So, see you soon, Pod TV. We love you. There was one more thing I was going to say. What was it?
I don't know. I'll tell you that the edibles program is going well with Vandu while you're thinking of what you wanted to say. So we're still accepting packaged and labeled donations and giving them away for free to people to replace their opioids, which is awesome. Thanks to Weeds and a bunch of other people for helping with that.
Contest. Or, sale that's coming up.
Oh, there is a sale coming up. It's not up quite yet, but we were doing a photo shoot today of some cannabis culture merchandise because all of the cannabis culture merchandise on our website is going to be going on sale, and we're adding new cannabis culture merchandise before that happens too. So these awesome glass rolling trays are going up. The toker pokers, I think there's one somewhere. Where's the toker pokers at? Yeah, these bad boys. These are going up on the website, and they're going to be on sale as well. Everything's going to be 15% off all the cannabis culture merchandise. So it's going to be starting very soon, and it's going to be going on until 4/20. So
And this is part of
big
raising
sale.
money for legal fees and stuff like that too. Is that part of what's going on?
Yeah,
'Cause there's going to be some of that for sure, right?
Yeah, I hope so. We're going to have to raise legal money.
Yeah.
But we also have 420 coming up, Neil.
Yeah, 420 is coming up.
That's one thing I did want to talk about. I forgot about was volunteering for 420. We need volunteers.
We got a couple of pages of volunteers at this point, but we could use more, I'm sure.
Oh,
It's
we
a
have
big
more
event,
than that
so-
even. Yeah.
Yeah.
We have emails, so keep the emails coming in. You can send an email to jeremiah@cannabisculture.com if you want to.
There was a dude here today who hitchhiked all the way from Timmins, Ontario to volunteer at 420.
Awesome.
Yeah, I met him. That's cool. Eddie helped with the
It's
joint
cold
rolling. We are
there.
rolling
Neil.
joints for 420 at this point. We could use some more sponsors for the joint rolling. So if there's, if you're a dispensary or someone that has some nice flowers that you'd like to have promote your name, then we'll shout your name out from the stage half a dozen times during the day, and we would accept those donations and have the Holy Rollers roll it up.
If you want to sponsor 420, or if you want your company advertised at 420 up on our big video screen that we have up on right next to the stage, or on our other advertising, including in the booklet, you can get a hold of me at Jeremiah@Cannabis Culture and just put 420 sponsorship in the subject heading. Yeah, it'll make it easier on me.
Yeah, and quicker that you'll get back to them.
Yeah, but we're doing a lot of that right now. There's a lot of people who want to be part of what's going on down there. We've sold all the booths at this time.
Cops took some of that money in the raid, eh?
The cops did take some of the 420 money.
Yeah.
They did. It's like 30 grand of it. So, but that's okay. We're going to manage. And
We will overcome all of these things they do to us. I know we will, no matter what they do.
Yeah.
No matter
Yeah,
what.
we will.
We'll be broadcasting from jail one day, Jeremiah.
Yeah, if we have to.
If we have to, we will.
I think they allow like XSplit set up in jail, don't they, with the 1080p's?
Something, yeah,
They won't let you have like 4K, but you can do 1080p. Yeah. All right. Well, okay. I don't know what that meant. Eating pudding? She eating pudding? All right. Okay. All right, Pod TV, love ya. I guess we're still here. You guys still here?
Whatever that is.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Peace.